Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking talking about the ADDs movies. I'm Jeff Taylor, and this is John Gauchi, and our guest is Melody Wihler, and she picked Rocky for. I was going to do the Rocky song, but that's not even in that one. The traditional, that's not in this one. This is heavy Survivor and 80s music. And James Brown does an entire song from beginning to finish in seconds before a boxing match goes on.
And he plays the Godfather of Soul, which I think is amazing. Like if you look at his credit, James Brown as the Godfather of Soul.
As the Godfather of Soul. All right, so Melody, when did you first see Rocky IV, and what were your impressions watching it for the first time?
Excellent question. I saw Rocky IV as a young Ralph Macchio looking tomboy. And I think, looking back, I always thought my dad had me watch the movies, but I think it was my mom that was really into them. I don't know why at the time, but I loved the movies back then because I was into the boxing and I thought boxing was really cool. And I thought this love story was great. And it is definitely interesting seeing it now and the different perspective on everyone's character of who's this evil villain and relationships and how they treat one another. The birds are angry about it, if you can hear them. But yeah, I want to say I was, still young, and I don't want to mess up my years here, but I always watched the Rockies when they came out. It was definitely more of a mom and I watching it thing than dad and I, for whatever reason. Probably she was watching Sylvester Stallone. I just didn't put that together in my brain. But yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and did you watch them in order? Because I think I saw 3 first, and then went back and saw 1 and 2, and then I saw 4, or might have even seen 3 and 4, and then I had to go back and watch the first 2.
I definitely remember 1. I didn't remember really seeing 2, or it might have just bored me because it was too grown up about, our struggle. 3, I wanted to see because I was all about Mr. T. Back that, Mr. T was a huge deal. I definitely saw 1, 3, and 4, I think, in order. I didn't remember 2 at all, though. I had to go back and watch that. Yeah, I had to watch that.
It was really good, though. I mean,
she was great as an adult.
Yes.
Yeah. And then 3 and 4 are truly 80s movies and Hollywood movies.
Right.
1 and 2 are independent films and 70s films.
100%.
And I think we'll see a lot of that as we go into this.
And I will say this, and I was talking to Melody about this. It is interesting now watching this movie again after watching Creed 2. And kind of going back and watching the origin story of Creed 2 again. And then a lot of things you see later. And we did a lot of it because we actually watched the movie together. And you see a lot of the things and we'll get into it. I don't want to, say too much, but we'll compare what happened in one movie to the other movie and see if there are any links or something.
I've not seen Creed 2. I was up and down on Creed, the first one. There's one point I was loving it, then I fell out of love, and then we kind of got back together towards the end.
Yeah, Creed 2 is really good. It really, I guess it's appropriate to talk about it. It humanized Dolph Lundgren a lot. And you felt for it. It's interesting. What's that?
Dolph Lundgren's in it?
Yes. It's
and Brigitte Nielsen.
Yeah.
Brigitte Nielsen was pregnant during filming. Sorry.
Really?
Yes.
Is it Flavor Flav, baby?
It's an excellent question. You can't really tell until you get a profile of her.
I didn't see any clocks.
You couldn't tell. I thought you were saying you couldn't tell that it was Flavor Flav's baby.
Right. I didn't go in there. I was.
There were definitely no hanging clocks anywhere. So if that means,
there was some dragging of some sound on the ground, but I thought it was her age.
Yeah.
Oh. All right.
Oh, no.
So let's get some stats on Rocky IV. So Rotten Tomatoes, it is 40% on critics, 79% on audience. So almost 2 to 1 in favor of the audience liking it more than critics, which tracks for me, I think.
Yeah.
One of the things I found about this movie is that it definitely, like I said, it's a very Hollywood 80s movie. It's written, directed, and starring Sylvester Stallone, and you can tell that. I'll get into that later. The IMDb score is 6.9.
That seems a little low.
Yeah, it seems a little low. I have not rated this, but so I will give it a 7, and that will help a little bit. How about that? That seems fair.
Up a notch.
I love the description is Rocky Balboa proudly holds the world heavyweight boxing championship, but even though he gives it up, he doesn't, or he doesn't, it's not like, he's not very proud about that. And then a new challenger is step forward, Drago, a 6'4". Dolph Lundgren is actually 6'5", 261-pound fighter. I don't know about that. Who has the backing of the Soviet Union. Like, it doesn't say anything about Apollo getting killed or you know, like.
Well, it's not called Apollo, it's called Rocky.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
but
they
that's
don't
a
want to give
big
it
part.
away.
That's
If you're reading it, maybe they don't want you to know.
Yeah, maybe.
But they don't want you to
We'll
know
give them
this.
we'll give them the
huge-
better. Just some other like quick in IMDb things. Do you know what Bridget Nielsen her character's name is? You might know this from Creed 2, but
No.
Mean
Ludmilla.
lady.
Ludmilla.
Ludmilla.
I think that's pretty. Ludmilla Drago.
That's nice.
What trivia? There's one thing in trivia that I want to say, and then we'll get to the scenes. So during filming, Dolph Lundgren and Carl Weathers really did not get along and got into an altercation when Lundgren threw Weathers into a corner of the boxing ring, which is in the movie. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. But after that, I guess he didn't do it the right way to like be safe or whatever. But after that, Weathers shouted profanities at Lundgren while leaving the ring and announced that he was calling his agent and quitting the movie. Only after Sylvester Stallone forced the two actors to reconcile did the movie continue. This event caused a 4-day work stoppage while Weathers was talked back into the part and Lundgren agreed to tone down his aggressiveness. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, that's classic 80s, just storming off set, 4-day vacation until you finally come back. I'm sure that happens now too. But.
Well,
Right, cool.
I think, Melody, didn't you say that like this was his first role, Lundgren, right? So he probably just didn't know. He probably was like, well, I'm supposed to be this big brute.
I should throw this man for real.
Throw this man around.
Who's this Carl Weathers guy? He's
Right,
nobody, right? Yeah, from my
Okay.
understanding and recollection was Sylvester Stallone, like with the people they brought in, he kind of picked him because he was so large and rough around the edges, and that's what he wanted. I mean, not like the poor mistake with Tommy Guns, but he wanted that different time. Okay. He wanted that kind of size and character. He kept saying everyone they were bringing was too small and too known or too pretty. But I mean, looking back at the movie now, I'm like, was kind of pretty.
Yeah,
He's pretty as
but he's also because Sylvester Stallone's not very tall. He's like 5'7", 5'8". So
is he even that tall? I thought he was like 5'5".
I think I think
I did. I thought
No, I think he's 5'8". Well, I'm sure we can Google it.
But Dolph Lundgren is 6'5". I did look that up. So that's a 9-inch difference. It's very noticeable on film.
I feel like in real life that's a reach disadvantage.
Yeah.
Mari,
and they even say that like he in the first round where he's just jabbing him to death. They even say that they're like he's having trouble getting inside his reach. You're like, yeah, he's fucking twice as big as he is.
This little man doesn't stand a chance. It's scientifically impossible.
But
you're welcome.
He's made of iron.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about the first two scenes together because it's basically like a music video. There's a lot of montages in this movie. Sylvester Stallone as a director is a very big fan of the montage. I feel like it's a kind of a lazy move, but we'll see what you guys think. But the first two scenes and like 10 minutes of the movie in the beginning is just basically a music video recap of Rocky 3.
And it goes into the other ones too.
all the previous movies, and then so like where are we now? And then the same scene from the end of Rocky 3, right, where they Apollo and Rocky have to have a match, just the two of them, and then they do the one punch where Rocky actually had. I think Rocky was going to hit him first. Like, I don't think Apollo had time to go around. I think Rocky just knocked him out. Yeah. And they still don't answer that. They just play the exact same scene again, but they answer it in Creed 2, maybe.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
Do they? I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, when he meets Creed, and he asks him who won that fight, he's like, when we took this picture. So it does full circle back around eventually to that being answered.
Well, that's in Creed 2.
Mm-hmm. Creed 2. Yep. Oh wait,
is it in Creed 2 or Creed 1?
I remember
Creed 1. Creed 1. Yeah, when they're in the bar and he walks in to train him.
But he doesn't really say though. I don't remember. We'll
do
that when we do 2000 movies and we do Creed.
Well, the Rocky character is a very humble, aw shucks kind of guy. So he wouldn't be like, I fucked your dad up. Yeah, I got him. He wouldn't. That's not his style. So
he had a liquid diet for 6 weeks after that.
God bust him up.
Just like I did in Rocky 2. And technically in Rocky 1, even though I was robbed in a decision.
That's robbed.
So what do you guys think of those two scenes as an opener for? I think it's a little bit lazy as a director, but it gets all the right information out, I guess.
I think for Rockies, it's kind of like you expect them, because I'm waiting for those montages from the 80 films with the music, and in my brain, I expect all kind of action films moving forward, especially in sports, to have that "there's no easy way out," or even like Footloose, any of those, because I don't want to get in other films. They had some kind of musical montage and things going on, but I think it's that lazy way, and I've never really perceived it that way, but a lazy way for those of us that have SFB to like at the beginning of every Netflix series, here's what happened in the last episode. So like, in case you had a concussion or epilepsy, here's, I'm the epileptic, so don't call me out on that. It reminds you of what happened in case you forgot, but in like a theatrical way with amazing music behind it.
Well, yeah. First of all, Frank needs to get paid, so it
does get paid.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We got to get a Survivor team in there or two, so the brother can get paid. So they got to put it in there. They got to get some. But no,
Frank Stallone was in Survivor.
That was my next question.
I always thought
he was just Frank Stallone. I thought it was just Frank Stallone.
I rescind that. I could have sworn it was. Somebody Google me.
You have so many facts that you just assume are true.
I know, I do. I could have sworn Frank Stallone is Survivor.
But I've been staying for how many years, and every time we're at Malloy's, that Journey song comes on, and then me and Kes get into it. I'm like, I swear it's in this movie, in this scene, and every time it's like, it's Survivor.
He did perform music, but as Frank Stallone.
Okay, so it's not Survivor. But is Frank? Are they Survivor songs or are they Frank Stallone songs?
No, it's the first album, 1985 album, is just called Frank Stallone. Some of his singles are "Moody Girl," "I'm Never Gonna Give You Up" with Cynthia Rhodes.
Never gonna give
Darling.
you up.
I don't think it's that one.
Oh, darn it! That's a great song.
All right, so I stand corrected. Frank Stallone does not get paid by his brother.
I don't know. He might have been a key grip or something.
Well, why the fascination with Survivor? Like, I thought Survivor was his brother. That's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just they knocked it out of the park with Eye of the Tiger, and he's like, I'm they're back up in the lineup again.
I guess that's why I assumed why Survivor? But anyway, I don't mind the montage. I love the montages because it might be lazy filmmaking, but for the lazy, let's be honest, if you're watching Rocky, you're not watching Rocky for plot twists and turns. You're watching Rocky for fun. And
but I still like I don't know, I still like the pump them up, you got to do it, Rock, and then Duke gives a pretty good one in this and Apollo in 3, like when he explains the eye or the tiger, you used to have the eye, you know, like I like this is just
This is just catching you up, so we
Yeah.
don't have to waste our time with bullshit. Just let's get right to the action. You know,
Alright.
I'm good. I'm good with it, and I do love that they finished where they start. You know, they started where they finished in the last movie. Even though
Well,
it would have been
I
good.
think each Rocky movie has its core items. It's going to have the montage. It's going to have huge motivational speeches, these epic quotes that we're going to, you know, rely on. But you wouldn't have a Rocky film without the, you know, keep moving forward, you know, used to fit in my hand or whatever it is. And I tried to write even like little things the son was saying, like, if you don't keep your eye on something, you'll lose, you know, focus when he was like taking the camera and all. They all have some huge motivational speech, but you got to have the montage and like you two slowly running on the beach in your shorts, caressing one another.
I
Oh,
also think
when I
it
finally
does-
win, then we just
Yeah.
hug and play in the water and like our high socks.
It also
short
does
shorts.
kind of set up Apollo not wanting to let go of the limelight. You know, kind of does focus on, you know, this still, like he still wants to fight Rocky, you know, and there he does the quote again, you fight great, but I'm a great fighter. And I think it is kind of laying the foundation that, hey, he's not going away. You know, even though he's past his prime, even though he retired, he doesn't want to let go. I think that does kind of lay that foundation.
Yeah. All right. So now it's Paulie's birthday. I've noticed that Rocky has less of an accent. I remember I think we had a conversation either online or in person about how Rocky gets smarter before he gets dumber.
yeah.
I didn't find that to be the case, actually. Now rewatching it, like he's still dumb. He just has less of an accent, which makes sense because he's not living. Yeah, he's not living in Philly and, you know, talking with Philly guys all the time. I guess he's like in LA. Is that where he lives now? Or
I think so, because in Creed,
suburbs
in
in
LA. Yeah, no, I think it is in LA. I think it is.
Yeah, yeah, because
where
that's where he went out in 3 to train with Creed. So
it's definitely not Philly. Yeah, it's definitely not in downtown Philly.
Okay.
Oh, no. I was saying he definitely continues to have like common sense and street smarts, but like basic things and his language and his verbiage. It's just not, he's not as educated when they're, you know, having conversations or having common sense and some things.
Yeah. And Paulie, as his birthday present, gets creepy robot. Creepy robot, which I will rename Rosie Robot when she has a sex change operation later in the movie. But Paulie even says it's creepy. It's got big giant eyes. It looks like a bug, but it
has that robot voice.
Yeah.
You know, like do an imitation if she's on your other computer.
Yeah, you sounded a little bit like Rosie the robot.
I do have those big buggy eyes. Yeah. It was a little odd and creepy, but I think that was, I mean, it's not like in Rocky 2 when he came into all that money and was just spending it. I think it was, actually, I have no idea why I got that robot.
Well,
just to keep him company, they said.
It's just an 80s thing to do. That's an 80s trope.
But I also think that speaks to Rocky. You know, like he's a big kid, you know, and he's like a robot. This is amazing, you know, and he thinks it's so cool. And, you know, like as much as it's for Paulie, it's for Rocky, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it does speak to how he is a simple guy and he's like a simple guy with all this money. And then, you know, of course, going to buy a robot. Who wouldn't, you know, if you're,
plus,
you know.
Plus, Paulie said he asked for a sports car.
Right.
And he got him a robot. That's probably the safe way because I don't think Paulie spends a lot of his time sober.
No.
So he shouldn't be driving around the streets like on Hollywood Boulevard with a sports car. He's going to kill him.
I will say this, Paulie in that little hat always cracks me up. Like he's got the little,
the little hat that's like the pork pie hat that's like just a little bit too small. So this is sweet. Next scene is a sweet little scene. Rocky surprises Adrian.
I did have something before that.
Okay.
I wrote my notes like because then the kid who we found out later his name is Robert. Helps Paulie blow out the candles.
Not kid. because that's all Rocky ever calls him.
Right. We went
Hey,
through
the kid's at
IMDb.
home.
Like
Hey,
one is
kid.
Rocky Jr., then he turns into Robert Jr. So I guess either Robert or I guess Rocky's real name is Robert. I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Robert Balboa.
Yeah.
Roberto.
But anyway, like so he's blowing out the candles, and then because like in 5, and I think even 6, like the son's a dick, right? I think you start to see
he's played by Sylvester Stallone's real son in 5 and 6.
Right. And he starts going down that path of being a jerk or whatever. And I think you actually see flashes of it in this, like, spraying the whipped cream in Paulie's face. And he's like, there's like little things here and there that he does that you're like, this kid's a little bit off. He's a little bit mean.
You think Sylvester was laying the groundwork?
I think he was. I think Sylvester's. He's like, we're gonna make him a jerk, and this is how we're gonna start. Because
I'm gonna get my actual son to play him in the next movie, and my actual son's kind of a dick, so I need to lay the groundwork.
Everybody likes to play a villain. A villain's easier to play than a good guy.
That's true.
Yeah, well, his son was a villain for a reason, as he felt he was in the shadows, and even probably in the shadows of very unappreciative Paulie, who probably, I think, would have gotten that sports car and still been unhappy. It'd have been like, I asked for it in white, and you got me a black sports car.
I can't drive stick.
Yeah. Right, I can't drive stick. That would be like every time, and we talked about this when we were watching it, I was like, can you imagine having a relative like Paulie? Like, everyone's probably got one. I'm an only child, so I don't have many. But I can't imagine. I would lose my mind. He's very patient. Because at any point, he could just knock him out.
Right. And that's kind of what we talked about. Like, Rocky does a lot for Paulie, and Paulie doesn't deserve any of it. Like, he doesn't, he doesn't appreciate anything. The only thing he did was introduce him to his wife and get him a couple of jobs in the beginning of his life. Other than that.
He has a nice moment later on then.
Yeah, a moment.
Yeah. He usually gets one. He usually gets one redeeming moment.
I'll give him 2. I thought it was funny in the press conference too.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's always comic relief, and then there's one like heartfelt, like it's usually right before the fight.
Right.
He's like he's finally on everybody on the same page. Okay, so the next scene was it's Rocky and Adrian's anniversary in a week. And Rocky surprises her with a prize. Here's your prize. He keeps calling a present a prize.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's such a Rocky thing. This is also when I remember Rocky being smarter and more sophisticated, but he still has some of that old Rocky charm. Like that little back and forth reminded me of them in the pet store, like in 1.
Right.
And I enjoyed. The little, is dumb but sweet, sweet and cute kind of Rocky shtick. Do you guys have anything on that little vignette scene?
No, I actually kind of wrote down the same thing right before they get to the next scenes, was that even though he's, he presented it to her a week before their anniversary, so he was still that same kind of romantic guy, but now he's dressed up, he's in his money, as they've gone through the phases. And I think they're still like respectful and mindful and appreciative of one another. But it's still, as soon as he said, prize, you like it? You like, like he's still like seeking her approval, and you can still, he still doesn't trust it, And
what is it? Because do they even show? It's like it's some piece of jewelry, right?
It's a watch.
Yeah.
Oh no.
He said because if it's, don't worry, because even if it's a snake, it might not bite you or something.
He said it looks like a snake, but
even though it looks like a snake, it still won't bite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a very 80s, like it was like the twist of flex.
It's like Spiegel.
Spiegel.
Yeah.
And I keep appreciating this damn thing.
Yeah.
Quick change reference.
I will. I agree. My only note was it's still a love story. That's basically what I put. It's still at the core.
Although I have some questions about some of the relationship stuff later, but
okay.
All right, next scene is Drago arriving in America. I love his handlers. No talk now. Talk at press conference. And that's pretty much it. It's just like you just like see him walk, and they're like, okay, there's this big fucking Russian guy, and he's going into the world of American boxing, and he's no talk now, talk at press conference.
Yeah, he's just like a, and this is one of the big things where I was like, my perception of Ivan Drago as an adult, and then as this, preteen, however old I was, probably like 1 or 2 when it came out, is so much different because he seemed like this big, oversized villain, and he did these horrible things, and now I'm just like, he's the show pony, and I feel really bad for him and this empathy, and he wasn't allowed to, I mean, I don't even think I heard that part, like not letting him talk and the way they speak to him and the whole as the movie goes on. But then I just felt bad for him.
Yeah, I found myself rooting for Ivan and Ludmilla a lot in this.
Well, Ivan, yes. Ludmilla,
no. I don't like her.
I mean,
we'll get
I
to
like
that,
the way she's played.
Yeah.
Like, I like the way Brigitte Nielsen plays it. I like the way she's portrayed. But she's absolutely a villain. Like, she's absolutely
awful.
I don't think so. I think she just loves her husband.
And you know what? And the truth is, we might be a little bit more skewed because we have seen Creed 2, and then you see like Creed 2 deals with the after of all that, and you haven't, so you might have a different opinion than we do.
Okay.
And the other thing I put in there, that I guess what I'll add is that they, at this point, they're still trying to appear humble. Like, we're thankful we'll be here. This is a great opportunity.
Yeah. It's up until the press conference with Apollo, when Apollo starts poking the bear.
Right.
That before, and then by the second press conference, they're fucking done with America.
Right. They're like, whatever.
You think you are so very good, and we are so very bad. I love that fucking speech.
Right.
All right. Well,
but it's true, and I don't think ever when I watched it before was I like, Apollo is the bad person. Like, he was 100% the asshole at that press conference. He was pushing him. He's being disrespectful. And again, this isn't a global movie, though. I mean, John knows me well enough to think that I think Rocky is impactful beyond its years. I'm like, this is how other countries perceive us, and this is how we kind of treat other communities and cultures. Like, we're so much better. We don't even need to prepare for this fight, whatever it is. And I was like, you were acting disrespectful and rude, and they're fed up, and now you're going to suffer. If he dies, he dies.
Yeah.
This is not alcohol, it's gut shots.
Yeah. I do think that, that's also the talk to an amateur versus a professional, where, Apollo wasn't angry. He wasn't, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of layers to Apollo, but he was just trying to promote a fight. Because even at the end, he's like, "How was I?" Like, he wasn't like, "I'm going to kill him."
Yeah. We'll
get to that. We're jumping.
Skip ahead a little bit, but I have the same feelings on that. So next scene is Apollo with his what look like 3 Chesapeake retrievers. Beautiful doggies. He finds out that Drago is coming to America in his pool while he's playing catch. Next, and then so that's just a quick. So that's how he finds out, and then the next scene is the first press conference, just announcing.
Oh wait, hold on. I think I can't remember this before or after, but I have number 2 of Jerk Kid when the son tells Rocky his face looks like a catcher's mitt.
That's the scene after this.
Is that the scene after? Okay.
Yeah. I think he's being funny, but
I mean, Stallone wrote that.
I know. I told you, it's all foreshadowing. He knows what he's doing. He's building. He was building 7 movies out. He knew what he was doing.
Then they come back, and I won't get into it, but in Rocky Balboa, those similar kind of comments come in with the punchy and stuff like that, and naming a dog. But anyways, my takeaway with when Apollo finds out in the pool, he's hanging out with his dogs, and this announcement, but at that point, being the hot ticket, Apollo wasn't the hot ticket. And I think that's what segues into this big pivotal moment. The Soviet Union, Dolph Lundgren, they're there to fight Rocky. That's who they want to fight. They don't have any interest in Apollo Creed. And I think that's when his pride really started getting struck and hit, because he's no longer, and that's what they segue into, like, what's this fight really about? He's no longer the hot ticket. He's not the one that anyone cares about, and it was interesting that he took that as, not that, I don't know if Rocky would have even had an interest in fighting him, but it was all about him, and he was going to jump on it either way.
Right. And I completely agree. It's like what I was saying earlier, like, he sees the spotlight shifting away from him, and he doesn't want to fade away into the darkness. He wants to keep on, being, because he was boxing forever, right? I mean, even when Rocky
Keep
beat him, and
moving forward.
what's that?
No, I was saying keep moving forward.
Yeah, keep moving. And even when Rocky, needed help with Mr. T, and when he was fighting Mr. T, Apollo was there. Apollo always kind of was a part of everything, and I think he's finally feeling it's all slipping away, and he doesn't like it. And I think that's pretty.
Aww.
Yeah. I don't know why he couldn't. And he hasn't been in the ring for 5 years. He's already been like transitioned into like a manager kind of thing in Rocky 3. Why not he be like, let's get the band back together. We'll get Duke and we'll get Paulie and we'll go into the gym in LA and we'll get and then we'll run on the beach and you'll beat up this Russian guy, like.
Because he wants it to be him.
Because fighters fight. You can't change who you are.
He's a great fighter.
Yeah, I have a lot of issues with all with
okay, all right, well, let's move to the next then. Let's go to the
real quick though. I have Drago as having 3 different nicknames during this film. So this is the first one where they call him the Siberian Express, which is kind of a ripoff of the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff. But later on, he becomes the Russian Bull. And then after he kills Apollo, Death from Above, because he's tall, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's nickname check for him. And then the next scene is Rocky and his kid in the yard. Rocky's wiping down one of his he has multiple sports cars, and Rocky has and Paulie has none.
Paulie has none.
And his kid is basically dancing with the robot, like standing on his feet as it's going around in circle. And then is this when Apollo calls and answers on them? And he's like, and they have the nice button line, and we're like, "What are you doing?" I'm just getting dizzy, because he's going around in circles and he has to keep, because even though it is a phone inside a robot, it still has a cord. It's not a cordless situation at all. Even I mean, I think they had cordless phones in '85, right?
Well, I mean, I guess the robot was the power source because it didn't have a cord.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cord from the robot to the phone.
Yeah. But a robot that big probably runs on like a car battery, right? Like,
well, I'm just talking about, like, I guess it had Wi-Fi or something, because it wasn't connected to the line of the house.
Was
that's true. That's true.
I mean, I had a car phone back then, but it still was connected to a cord that was screwed into the base of my vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's pretty bad.
And I also put Sylvester Stallone's face does look like a catcher's mitt more now than it did in '85. He was still a little taut in the face.
Basically, you and the son are both jerk kids, is what you said.
And that's the thing. He wrote that line. He's like, "How am I going to make fun of myself? Oh, my face looks like a catcher's mitt, and I'll have the kid say it, so it's like nice."
Oh man.
Then they cut back. This is probably why you got it, because they cut back to the press conference with Drago, which is still in progress, I guess. Yeah. And I love Brigitte Nielsen in this. I think she's charming and a good actor in this scene and in this whole movie. Like, I don't know what happened after this.
She married Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, for 19 months, and then that ruined her career. That's all it takes.
Yep.
I guess there aren't many. I mean, she was good in whatchamajig with in Beverly Hills Cop. Was that 2?
2. Yeah. She was she did the job. Yeah, she did the job.
She was a woman of like large stature, strong. It might have been a challenge to get roles, and she's always had that very prominent look, with the short hair.
Well, it's tough to find a leading man for her, because they have to be at least 6'1".
She would have made a killing. She would have made a killing if, like, the Marvel universe was around back then. She probably she'd be Brienne of Tarth on Game of Thrones. So she's a trailblazer. She definitely.
I just wish she blazed more trails. Kind of gave up. She didn't kind of
blazed Flavor Flav's trails.
She didn't get enough. So the next scene is a first of the Drago. Like, this is kind of like a showing off of Drago with how impressive he can do. And this is where I came up with a sex with me is like joke. So for our listeners who don't know, there's an improv warm-up game called Sex with Me is Like, and then you just choose something like a glass of iced tea. So, and then everybody has to say how sex with them is like a glass of iced tea. So you would say like, sex with me is like a glass of iced tea. It's cold but refreshing. And so my sex with me like joke for this is, sex with me is like getting punched by Ivan Drago. I can get it up to 1,850 pounds per square inch, but I need some drugs to do it.
Nice.
Good. Good.
So, because apparently Ivan Drago punches with 1,850 pounds of per square inch in this one, and then it's even more. He breaks the machine later after he gets some more steroids.
In montage number 2 or 3 or 4.
Which is enough. Which is enough. I haven't done the math on this, but I think that would be enough to crush a human skull.
Probably.
So this even with the boxing gloves on, I think this would be a one-punch fight in real life. He would hit the first time he connects with Rocky. He would
right in the chest.
Die.
Stop his heart.
Like he's gonna Mike Tyson that right there.
Yeah. Which is funny you say that, John, because in the final boxing scene, when they first started, Sylvester Stallone told Dolph Lundgren to hit him for real on a few takes, and he ended up with some the sac around his heart filled up with like fluid and stuff, and he had to go to the hospital. He like almost died. So like apparently Dolph Lundgren hits pretty hard too.
Well, he's a big man. He's definitely a big man.
So okay, what did you guys think of the unveiling of Ivan Drago scene?
Again, very different than I did as a child. As a child, I was horrified of him and I just saw him as this awful villain. And as an adult, I just felt, I was like, he's a lab rat. They don't care about him. I saw Brigitte Nielsen as just, he was just an object. Like she saw him as this, like a trophy husband maybe, or this piece of meat to represent her in her country. And again, I felt bad for him, but I would have been scared to death of him because he was just out on a mission, and the mission was defeat whoever the opponent was. So it was interesting as they go through the different, only he had a montage in the beginning because Apollo wasn't doing anything but prep his dance moves. So
like, did Apollo even train for this fight?
I don't think
he like hopped out of the pool and then
Drago didn't really train for it either. I thought they were just kind of like it was like a show for the
Ivan Drago is always training.
Right, but I think and I think that was the point, is that it was just supposed to be an exhibition. They're just supposed to, spar a little bit, and that obviously didn't happen. I don't want to jump to it, but I don't think he trained for it because I don't think it's not a real fight.
And we have a little premonition from his handler. Anything he hits, he destroys.
I don't know if I'm out of order here with some of this because I don't really remember. Are we talking about the press conference with Apollo or not yet?
No, this is when
just the beginning. Hey, I'm happy to be in America. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So Apollo hasn't challenged him yet. Okay, got it.
Yeah, no. This is like first they had a press conference where he's sitting at a table. This is like in a gym where they're just showing how hard he can hit.
It was in a circle. Yeah.
I just said that at this point that's when he gets called out for steroid use. Or I'm not sure if that's then or if that's with the Apollo conference.
I think that is this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, what would you say about the rumors of something? And they kind of look at each other and they're like,
gives Brigitte the no, don't tell them. Yeah.
Which is it's ironic as fuck because Sylvester Stallone was using so much steroids right at this point.
Watch what you say.
He's that's well known. Like all those 80s guys just roided it up.
Well, he got caught with that HGH when he was older too, right?
Yeah, because it's not against.
That's legal.
They don't test for movies, like unless you have something in your contract where they have to give you a drug screen because you're like Carrie Fisher,
right?
And she couldn't get a job unless she got clean tests or whatever. But like, I guess, I mean, it's not technically legal, but it's not like sports, like an actual sporting
right.
event
It's
where
not performance enhancing per
it's
se.
not Mark
Right?
McGuire and Sammy Sosa. So I just thought it was funny that, you know, they're like demonizing Drago for using steroids, but
And you know, you also
they're
talk about lazy. That's also kind of like what we would say about the Russians and the Germans in the Olympics. That you know, they would just take the best athletes, they would dope them up, they would, you know, all this kind of stuff. So it was just basically feeding into all that. Like, you know, of course.
And they would, and they another thing the USSR did was they would put all their Olympic athletes in the army, and that's how they would pay them. So they were paid as a lieutenant in the army. They never did anything but just play hockey or boxing or whatever sport it was. So that's kind of how they got around the amateur, because back then you had to be a real amateur to be in the Olympics. So the next scene is Apollo comes to Rocky's house to explain he's gonna fight Drago. At this point, also Paulie has somehow found a way to reprogram the robot to be a woman, and now she is already in love with him, and he is falling in love with her. I think is unsaid, but I think that's definitely happening.
Yeah. I think we can safely say that there's not a chance Polly would be able to figure that out.
I think that would probably be
so. Maybe he got the kid to do it or something, or you know, called the manufacturer or something. Is there a switch in the back that goes from male to female?
Right.
But she definitely has a different, sexy robot. You know, like, yes, Polly.
Hi, Polly.
I have a couple things on that. My first note is Adrian.
Where can I get one?
Reason. I mean, I think we all know that, but she's.
Yeah, I have. Is Adrian a voice of reason, or is she a wet blanket?
I think she's absolutely a voice of reason. And I'll get into that later as we go through it. But I think I have her as a voice of reason.
But a fighter's got to fight, John.
What's that?
A fighter's got to fight, man.
I also love how Apollo is going into how, you know, talking about having this exhibition, and then the robot comes in and he takes 1 second and completely like whatever and goes right back into talking about what he's talking about. Like doesn't acknowledge like the weirdness of the female in love robot thing. He goes right back into it. And then the other note
that's just LA Rocky nowadays. He knows
right.
Like
he's like whatever that is. Like he's like whatever that is, I don't give a shit. I'm here to talk about this fight and how you can help me. And then I think my favorite thing about Apollo in this movie is, you know, Adrian's telling him, you know, hey, no, you can't, you know, let it go. I'm paraphrasing. I forget exactly what she said. You know, it's too old. You're past your prime. Let it go. Stop fighting this and that. And she says her piece and she gets up. And Apollo is the only one who stands up when she leaves, like a gentleman, while she walks out.
Does he? He kind of does one of these. Yeah. Like he does a squatty potty.
100% because she was leaving. Yeah, he was. You know,
yeah, he does that. He does that. Yeah, that's why he does it. But he doesn't like stand up.
No, but he's the only one who even does that. Like Rocky, who adores Adrian, thinks the world of Adrian, doesn't do it. You know, Paulie, you don't expect whatever. But I just think it says a lot about Apollo. Like he's so conflicted. He's got all these things. He's losing grip on everything, but yet he still has respect for the person who's telling him, hey, this is wrong, even though he doesn't agree at all. And I just thought that said a lot about Apollo at that point.
Yeah. And then they transition to just Apollo and Rocky watching their fight, I guess, from 2.
Yeah, I think it was.
And Apollo talks about how once he's out of the ring, people forget about him, and he's basically going to risk his life, which even if he was fighting anybody for 3 rounds, someone who's been out of the boxing ring, and I guess is in your mid-30s, he's supposed to be. But they do say he hasn't boxed in 5 years, which I guess he's got to be Rocky fight. Yeah,
I would imagine.
But he's basically risking his life because people aren't asking him for autographs anymore. Mm-hmm. He's like, do you see people asking me for autographs? Well, I mean, you're at Rocky's house where everybody knows you, so no. But I feel like that's a weird. I mean, I understand that athletes, especially boxers, like Sugar Ray Leonard, retired like 14 times, and he kept coming out for different reasons. but this isn't. And then obviously that's a running theme with Rocky as well. But I don't know. It just seems like a
Well, I don't think that's the real reason. Melody, you can go first as far as, if you have any thoughts.
Do you see me coming to the edge of my seat?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go first. And then
Well, yeah,
we're gonna respectfully disagree.
You're gonna go in there. Well, I don't disagree with anything. I want to lead with Adrian's. I think one of the things she always does is she doesn't tell anyone anything. I think she asks questions like, are you sure? Why are you doing this? Is it too late? I don't think she always shows respect. And I think that's why Apollo is respectful of her. And she even does that, as we'll get to a later scene with Rocky, asking kind of the same questions. But, I think even Rocky knows as they go into their scene where they're, watching this fight and they're kind of flashing back on the good old days, what's the point? And, he's asking Apollo, what's this fight really about? Is it really, maybe the fight's not with the Russian, the fight's with you and what you're letting go, what you feel like you're losing. And Jeff, to your point, saying like, or you're not saying it's not a big deal, but, like fighters fight, or anyone like actors or comedians, when they go to retire, it's hard to let go of how I think people know you and perceive you. And when you feel like you're losing that, I think that's really that struggle, whether it's pride or a loss of sense of self. And I think when he sees, like he tells Rocky, people are still, he wanted to fight Rocky, not him, because he's now a nobody. And he, I think, identifies himself through that fighting. And I think, Rocky's trying to ask him as his friend, is it really that important? Is anything that important? And it is to him. And like you said, Jeff, Rocky revisits that in future movies and later on down with aging and stuff. But yeah, it's like every Rocky film. It's not about the fight. It's about whatever other fight is going on. And his fight right now, I think, is getting older, not being recognized or respected or whatever.
And I agree. Jeff, I pretty much agree with you too. I think it's more, like I said, he can't let go. I think it's the recurring theme with him. He can't let go. I paraphrased some of the quotes because I couldn't get him down quick enough. You can't change who you really are, is what he says. And then another one, and I know I missed the beginning, without a challenge or a war to fight, the warrior might as well be dead. Like that's how he identifies. That's who he sees himself as. He doesn't want to let go of that. He doesn't want to let go of the glory years and things of that nature. So I think there is a lot of, him coming to self-realization that his time as a boxer, as a well-known person, as a people who seek to fight, seek to beat, seek to meet, are over, and he is really struggling with it.
See, that's what I don't get, because like even in the first one, it seemed like he was already setting up like he was a business and like he had plans for after boxing, and now it's just like, I'm just going to keep fighting until I die.
Right.
Because he says, that's what fighters do. We fight. So you just go on to the next one. So like, if he's going to fight at 40, that means he's going to fight at 45, and then he's going to fight at 65. And then it's like, what was that movie with De Niro and was it Stallone in that one too? Where they're like 60, 70 years old and they're fighting each other.
Versus somebody else. It wasn't Stallone.
It was somebody. It was a ridiculous movie.
Right.
With ridiculous
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's for lack of. I don't think it's for money. I don't think it's for. I think it's a pride thing. It's he's a showman. He loves the limelight. I mean, dude, we're gonna talk about a scene in a minute where it's not about anything else except for him and soaking up the glory and the applause and the adulation. Like that's what he loves and that's what he misses. He's addicted to the love that he gets from other people, or they.
Right. Yeah. And feeling like he's good at something. Like Rocky tried to segue into TV and commercials and business, but he wasn't good at it. He didn't love it. There wasn't a passion about it. And he ended up right back fighting again. And I will segue before we go to that scene. Am I the only one that questioned or had feelings about Apollo asking Rocky to stand by his side when everyone's guiding him and asking him not to fight?
Go ahead. You can go first, Jeff. You can go first.
Wait, can you say that again?
So I one of the scenes that doesn't trouble me, but I struggle with is I feel like Rocky is continue to kind of be put in these certain situations. And in later films, it's again where, you know, no one is really supporting Apollo's decision to do this exhibition fight based upon age, whatever reason. And I feel like Apollo puts him in this situation to, you know, I know you don't want me there, but stand by my side one last time. And then as we get into later scenes, he again goes against Rocky's wishes of no, don't, you know, make this decision. And I struggle with that. I mean, it's a movie. I'm not, you know, not losing sleep over it, but I don't feel like it was a good position to continue to put a person in when they're saying, hey, it's not the smartest, we don't support your choice. But he's like, hey, if you're my friend, you're going to do this.
But then Rocky then turns and does that later in this movie, and then every movie that comes out previously, like he does that to Adrian over and over and over again.
I don't have a problem with it because, I mean, that's what friends do. And then if you go into Rocky 3, when Rocky was unmotivated to do things, but he was still kind of going through the motions, he was the one who kicked him in the butt and said no. I mean, Miss Adrian obviously had a big part to play that too, but it was Apollo and Adrian who were like, no, if you're going to do it, do it, do it. So it seems like that might be their friendship dynamic where Apollo kind of sometimes pulls Rocky kicking and dragging through situations. And maybe that's how he felt it was. And I mean, I don't think anybody foresaw what happened was going to happen in an exhibition boxing match. You know, I think, you know, I think for the movie, they make it a little bit dramatic, but if it was like real life, they'd be like, okay, you know, they're just going to hit each other for a couple rounds, dance around each other and whatever. So I don't think there's anything wrong with him asking, because I mean, who else would you want in your corner? But, you know, your best friend who you trained with, you know, who knows you, who knows how to fight, who can help you. So I understand your point of we're putting a lot of pressure on Rocky, but like Jeff said,
Rocky.
Yeah, but like Jeff said, Rocky does do his fair share of pressuring other people. So, yeah.
All right. So the next scene is the Rocky or the Apollo
Press conference?
Oh, the press conference.
Oh, the press conference. Yeah. So let's do the press
Yeah.
conference, and then we'll take a break.
Okay.
About that. Where are we? Press conference announcing Apollo Drago's fight. I'm on Drago's side with the first thing that Apollo starts doing is he puts his hand on his shoulder, which, you know, if anybody knows me, I fucking hate people, especially somebody I don't know, like just touching me, like he didn't, you know, that's without consent.
Well, it's a power move, right? It's like
yeah,
it's like a
he's doing all this is calculated by
right,
Apollo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty on the Russian side here. I think Apollo is an asshole. I think he's a just genuine asshole because he's not actually upset. He's doing this to, like, and if this was a real press conference, I would be 100 be like, they fucking staged that shit. Right. And he basically did, at least on his side.
Right. He's trying to get a reaction.
The Russians were more genuine in this press conference than the Americans. Except for Rocky and Paulie. They were legit. Yeah. So basically Apollo.
I think, and I said it. Melody, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Or, yeah. I mean, I said it already. I think, you know, he was just trying to hype a fight. He was just trying to be the showman that he is. He did it to Rocky. I mean, you remember the Rocky press conferences? It was the same kind of deal. It was just Apollo.
Pattern after Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali did it all the time.
He was just trying to, and once again, it's a amateur versus a professional. Like Apollo understands there's lots of money to be made in this situation. Let's get it as many eyes as we can, and he wants that and he craves that anyway. So I think that's all that was. I mean, Drago's camp was coming in business as usual. You know, we're gonna, you know, I think they're getting a little bit cocky here, and at the end they get a little bit more cocky, but you know, they still weren't like, you know, in the you know, they're kind of in between. They're kind of transitioning. So I agree with what you're saying, but I think it was just like, you know, obviously at the end he's like, how'd I do, you know?
Yeah.
I do love when he's being, you know, a fool. What do they cut to? They cut to Adrian looking at Rocky like, what the fuck is going on here? Once again, she's the voice of reason. Like, dude, what are you doing? You know, you're kicking a hornet's nest. You have no idea what's going on. and
it's
you're
literally
doing
poking the Russian bear.
Right, you're literally poking. You're on the tracks, and the Siberian Express is coming, right?
Or at this point, he's the or is that the during the fight they call him the Siberian Bull.
Yeah, I think he's still the Siberian Express at this point. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, and Rocky's like, hey, it's out of my hands, and I have some,
knows.
right. I have some words about that. When we get back, I'll talk about that a little bit because I do have some thoughts about Rocky's behavior in some of this. So.
Right.
No, and I agree with both of you on that. So I did not like Apollo. I forget in it that it's a, I think as a kid I didn't see anything of it. I was like, Apollo's the best, and this other guy's a jerk. But I still continue to forget it's an exhibition fight. I just always, and John and I talked about this the other day, I never enjoyed, like I would skip past the scene where Apollo comes out and he's all showy. Like I don't like that. I think it's disrespectful to the sport. Like I didn't like it because obviously these films are real. And so when he's acting like a dick and putting his hand on the shoulder to me, it's like so sarcastic and disrespectful. I'm like, I would want to knock you out if I was Dolph Lundgren, but I forget in his brain, like John's saying, like he's just trying to get eyes, he's trying to get money because they think the fight is a joke. But, so I do forget that part that it is supposed to be an exhibition, but I'm like, no, he's being a dick. He's not taking this guy seriously. And because of that, they're clearly saying, why are you being so rude and disrespectful to us? And
the thing that really makes Apollo snap, I don't know if it's calculated or not, but is when the handler kind of said, where he's like, oh, it's going to be I think it's Ludmilla.
His trainer. It's one of his trainers. He's got two trainers.
I thought it should be a good victory or something. They say.
Yeah, it'd be a great victory.
She says it.
He said Apollo was a great champion.
I think it's Ludmilla. She says it. And
he's highly respected in our country, and to beat him.
I can't wait till my husband beats the shit out of him.
Right.
And that he's like that. Just the fact that this guy might actually beat him. Said he's like, whoa, victory. What are you talking? You're lucky if you get out alive. What are you talking about? I'm a professional. I'm gonna, like obviously they're setting him up for a pretty hard fall and then a wiggle on the ground as he convulses.
All right, well you want to break here and then
we'll take a break. We'll get some more cucumber water and that.
It started as cucumber water and then I decided to make it cucumber mint seltzer with vodka and cucumber. So
very nice.
He told me to get a real drink, so I switched the water out and just added some.
I'm gonna get water.
I'm gonna get some water and hit the bathroom.
All right. Well, this side is cucumber water.
I told you
the big
shot glasses. You should have real shots.
Well, no, I can't do shots. I did gut shots for my gut health.
So you can poop. Are you gonna poop in the break? We'll edit that out.
Well, I hope that part's not getting shared, but maybe.
Yeah, just make sure you hit mute so you don't hear the flush.
All right,
guys. Listeners, we'll be back in like 0 seconds. No, you're gonna listen to you're gonna watch the trailer for Rocky IV, and then we'll be back. All right. Now I have to do it. I can't skip that part.
Today, the Soviet Union has officially entered professional boxing.
This is not just an exhibition fight. This is us against them.
He would like to compete against anyone who is qualified.
Drago is the most perfectly trained athlete ever. Whatever he hits, he destroys.
He could have stopped the fight. He could have saved his best friend's life.
I'll never forget you, Apollo.
But now, the one thing he can't do is walk away.
Has the fight date been set yet?
December 25th.
Where?
It's in Russia.
Are you nuts?
Miss Balboa, when will you be going to Russia?
I'm not going to Russia. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's had one professional fight, and one man is dead.
Tabibi, he's going to have to kill me.
Why can't you change your thinking?
Because I'm a fighter.
You can't win!
I must break you.
Rocky IV.
Hello, and we're back. We are going over Rocky IV, and we have just we're about to head into Apollo's fight with Drago, a 3-round exhibition, which is anything but a 3-round exhibition. It's what, 2 rounds, a second round knockout, KIA.
Yes.
So I have notes about the scene with Rocky and Apollo before the fight.
Mhm.
Like, should Rocky be getting in? Like, these are concerns that Rocky did express and probably should have expressed strongly. But at this point, you got to be like, you can do it, man. You can do it. It takes all your power. You know, like, it's like Duke's speech during the Rocky fight. It's just like, all your power, all your strength. There's only one way to do this. And he's just like, I don't know if this is a good idea. It's not the best pre-fight speech in the Rocky series at all. What do you guys think about that little part?
I think in his moments right before, when they're in their back little room, they're prepping, I think he's kind of struggling with trying to support him because he's in the position where he feels forced to. And it's an awful speech. I don't think he's the trainer yet. He's still the fighter. So I don't think he has that motivational speech built into him yet. But I think he's trying to do everything he can to get his friend to not fight without disarming or hurting the pride of his friend who's also a fighter. And there's no in between of talking. He's not Adrian that can have that kind of conversation transparently. So I think he's trying, but he really doesn't want him to fight, but he doesn't want to upset his friend who's got his mind set on doing it. But it's, like you said, I think it's, at this point, you got to be all in, but I think he just really knows this is a horrible idea and there's no easy way out.
I will agree with both of you. I said, and I think through this whole process up until even this point right before, Rocky is way too delicate with Apollo. He never really tells him, he kind of hints around and skates around what he feels and whatever, but he never really tells him, hey, this is a terrible idea. You don't need to do this. He's trying to lead him to make his own decisions. But then when you juxtapose it with Adrian and how she talks to Rocky, like right after, I don't want to get too far ahead, but she said, what she says is with conviction, and I think Rocky's way too wishy-washy. I think he's never in, he's never out. He's never really supporting Apollo, but he's never really stopping Apollo. And I don't like it. I think that if he really had a strong opinion, he should have told his friend. He should have been able to do that, or like you said, Jeff, bite his lip, shut up, and tell him, hey, dude, let's go do it. We're gonna do it. Let's go do it. I'm 100% behind you. I did not like at all. I don't blame him obviously for what happens, but I didn't like it at all. I thought he was way too wimpy, way too wishy-washy on the whole thing.
Also,
and then sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, and I was saying, and the moments before that, the last thing, as fighters, and they want to hear is that they don't feel supported or that someone's not believing in them. And I think that's not a killing moment for Apollo, they'll pun there, but yeah, that's just a little bit later.
In round 2.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to hear that you don't think I can win. That's the huge, dynamic between Adrian and Rocky if they don't believe in it. But I don't think, no one's calling out the wife here. It's the wife that should be having these conversations. She's such a shadowed character, but there's a reason Adrian talks to Rocky that way, because they have she has something more to lose than technically, I guess, Rocky would lose with Apollo.
Yeah, and also the one thing I wanted to before we get to the I Live in America music video, Apollo also is starting to add the Cold War in and it's not just about I'm losing the spotlight. It's us versus them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we have to represent America, and I'm the one to do that. And you need to have my back. And if not, then you got the Russians back. So that's a little wishy-washy on Apollo. Like he's just looking for a reason, and the real reason is he wants to show off. He wants to say I'm still, even at 35 or 40 or whatever, having not fought in 5 years, I'll kick this big amateur's ass in a 3-round exhibition, and people will be like, oh, I guess Apollo's still got it. He should probably come out of retirement. That's all. That's this warrior thing, and a fighter's got to fight, and it's us versus them. It's all bullshit. It's pure ego, I think. And
I don't think
it's hard for Rocky to compute that, because Rocky's not about ego.
I don't think craving the spotlight and fighters got to fight and the warrior code and all that shit, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they go together. I think these are the reasons that he wants what he wants, and he's just
the us versus them thing is new.
Right. Well, I think that's just another way of him justifying, motivating himself to do something that he wants to do. He's finding an excuse to do it.
It's an excuse.
Yeah.
Hey, he's trying to get Rocky. He's like, well, if you're not on board with the warrior thing, then what about America?
Right.
It's that's a very American thing. If you're not on my side, then you're not American.
Right.
Okay. Now, so we have Drago comes out to very little fanfare. He's just a big dude.
He comes up. He comes up from
Oh yeah, yeah.
Standing in the ring.
Yeah, and then later when Apollo comes, he comes down.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's coming from hell and I'm coming from heaven. It's a lot, and it's a
but oddly death from above later.
Yeah. So this is like a Super Bowl halftime level performance of the entire song of I Live in America, which was written just for this movie and just for this moment. There are the I Live in America dancers. You have showgirls, you have like a drum line, you have the James Brown band with the twirling trumpet and like all the fanfare. At the end, he gives you the I feel good and gets the cape done. It should have been an American flag though, right?
Yeah,
like
probably. Yeah, probably.
But that was missed opportunity.
And they had the bull. So I guess maybe at this point he is the Siberian bull or whatever, because the bull behind him.
Yeah, but Apollo came out to that.
I know, but he punches it and it cracks. Don't you remember that?
Really? Oh, I might have skipped. I had to do a little 10-second skips on some of these because I was running behind on Talkin. That's why we had to start late, because I hadn't finished watching. So what do you think of the I Live in America video, Valley?
It was I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. It was too much for me. I remember I liked the song back then because it was still like a hit on the radio. It's still if I recall,
it's super catchy. It
was catchy. It was played on the radio. But back then, because I thought, I took the boxing very seriously. I thought it was over the top. I did think that was disrespectful then, and I didn't like it at all. I like, that was the scene I would fast forward as a kid. I was like, I can't watch this. And now even more it annoys me, because in my brain I thought everything that this other country thinks about the United States and how we're just gluttons and we don't take things seriously and we're disrespectful, I'm just going, and thank you for proving them correctly. And they're about to ruin you because you're unprepared, you're not taking this seriously. But again, I forget it is supposed to be an exhibition fight. And he gave quite the performance.
I look at it differently than you guys. I don't disagree with you. It is disrespectful. It is all the things you said. But I think
you're allowed to disagree here.
Right. I think that it also it's his last hurrah, right? This is him. This is how he wanted to be remembered. And obviously this is how he's going to be remembered. But he was the showman. He wanted to go out, you know, singing and dancing and putting on a show and, just basking in the glow of patriotism and being an American and being a hero and being the boxer that ended the Russian threat or whatever. So he just, he just loved it and he soaked it all up. And yes, it was over the top, and yes, it was disrespectful, and yes, it was wrong. But I get it. Like, I get why he did it. I get why he felt he needed to do it. And obviously he was wrong, and he should have been a little bit more serious about it, but he took it way too light. It was just, he thought it was like going to be his victory lap, and obviously it wasn't.
Yeah. More notes on this scene. The ring is not tall enough. Like, if you go back and watch this, like, the ring is only like 6 inches above the, like, I guess that's for exhibitions. They don't have the full size ring, or whether with like it's like barely a ring. It's more like a stage. Which makes sense because this is kind of a performance and not or at least Apollo thinks it's going to be. Also, this is where he's changed to, Apollo has a lot of nicknames. The Master of Disaster, there's like, I started listing them, there's too many of them.
Well, and it's that scene in Rocky 3 when they're listing off all his nicknames, and Rocky's like, how many nicknames you got? And then he just, like, yeah, he's got a ton.
Yeah. And then Drago is now the Siberian Bull. I'm not 100% sure that Sylvester Stallone didn't have that big ass bull thing from something else and did like Cobra. He was going to use it in Cobra or something and didn't. And it was just like, you know what? Change his name to Siberian Bull, and we'll put this in here, and then Apollo can punch it. I don't even remember that part. Do either of you know what a rabbit punch is? I know they're illegal in boxing, but
isn't it in your kidneys? In your kidneys?
Just like a little thumper punch. That's all I can think of. Like a little fast rounding little punch. I don't know.
The kidneys makes more sense because it's like a low blow where like it's against the rules or something. But maybe I'll look that up. We get the classic Drago line, "You will lose."
Yeah. And then when the oh shit moment where it's all fun and games, put your hands up. He's like, oh,
just don't move.
He's like, oh damn.
Oh shit.
Yeah. That was that look, that complete, and that was one of the notes there where he's Apollo just keeps taunting him and taunting, like, you ready to go? You ready to go? And then he's just like dead in the eyes, you will lose, and then that thing, you could see that look on his face of like, oh fuck.
Right.
Like maybe I did underestimate this. I don't think he's joking around,
And then you see him try and remotivate himself. Like he tries to like shake it off and remotivate himself.
Yeah.
Like, it's too.
He just got mind effed right there.
Yeah, it was done. Yeah.
Like Drago would, in both these fight scenes, both the fighters would be suspended or would be disqualified almost immediately. Like at the end of the first round, there's like 7 punches after the bell.
Right.
Like 7. Like he's doing combinations after the bell.
Right. And then we always talk in the beginning of our thing of our podcast about looking at things in the 80s lens or whatever. I don't think you can look at a Rocky movie in a boxing lens. Like, it's not boxing. I mean, it is boxing, but they're not. It's the way they like nobody defends, nobody, like, it's a million punches around. They're all bloody to hell. Like
bloody. Like they can't even see out of their eye.
Right. Like you just have to accept it for what it is. It's a show. It's a movie.
Yeah.
If you start like getting nitpicking in the boxing aspect of it, then it's gonna ruin the movie for
Yeah, I have a little nitpicky in the boxing.
I'm sorry, Mel. Do you think it is real life boxing?
It was real life. Okay, I've watched it in person. It happens.
You kept score of every round, right? You're like,
I was like,
okay,
wait a second.
Okay, I'm gonna give that round to Drago. He
Yes.
connected on 77 punches.
Yeah.
And Apollo only
Yeah.
connected on 4, so that's 10.
When I scored it, Drago won. Yeah.
And just think that those are all montage rounds. Like you don't know how many real punches were actually thrown.
Well, the Apollo fight is just 2 rounds, so that's not the montage, right? That's in the Rocky fight where they have where like rounds 2 through.
Yeah, we can't montage a 2-round fight. It's easily a montage.
Well, if anybody could, Sylvester Stallone could.
He would try. I guess so.
This whole movie could be a montage.
He's like, I'm not going to pay James Brown and Survivor at the same time. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
That's a lot of budget.
So the first round does not go well for Apollo. He's pretty much done already. But he makes Rocky promise, don't you end this fight, no matter what. What? No matter what. There's a lot of repeating in this. I have another scene later where it's like so bad. But so no matter what. That's he's basically saying, if he kills me,
this is how I want to die.
Yeah, this is how I want to die.
Right.
And Rocky is saying, okay. And I think that is bullshit.
Well, once again, to my point earlier, Rocky's being too delicate with Apollo. Yeah. You know, Apollo, you're getting destroyed. It's over. It's done.
Who later says he's like a father to Apollo, is like, throw the goddamn towel.
Right.
Like, throw the towel. He says.
Well, I have thoughts on that too. But go ahead, Melody. Do you have anything before we get into that?
No. I agree. And again, I kind of struggle with it because he's battling with I know this is one of my closest and mentors' wishes. He too is a fighter. How would he want to go? So I think he's trying to understand both sides. And he's in a position, I think, where this person is saying, promise me, this is the way I want to go. And I don't view to me, it's like if people have other deathbed wishes or if I'm at war, I want to go this way, I don't think it's fair of Apollo, and I don't want to, because nothing's fair, to put him in a position to make that decision. And this is a continuing theme that he's then going to have to live with, that decision he makes. And mind you, he should have definitely thrown in the towel and done it, and then he would deal with Apollo being pissed off later. I get that, but it's one of those things where it's like, what would Apollo want in the long run? Because now he'll be remembered.
I have thoughts on throwing in the towel. First of all, right before it happens, ref tries to step in, right? Drago throws the ref out of the way and starts hitting.
Disqualified for that.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
But you think, okay, so let's see, this happens, and then I think it's like 2 or 3 punches after that, he kills him. Yeah. What do you think throwing in the towel is going to do? He's already thrown the ref out of the way. Like, I think there's too much being said about it was Rocky's fault.
If they throw the towel in, then they can hop in and then they break up the fight. That's usually how it.
Yeah. Once again, ref was already basically breaking up the fight, saying it's over, it's done. Stop. He's had enough. Nope. Get out of here. Bang, bang, bang. Should I throw in the towel? Should I not? I mean, at that point, just jump in the ring, right? At that point, just jump in the ring.
You could throw it and then jump at the same time. Like
my point is, throwing in the towel would not have stopped that. Yes, they would have to jump in the ring. But I mean, how many punches is he going to get in before they get in the ring?
Yeah, but I mean, he could have. He probably should have thrown it in a little earlier.
I get for the drama of the whole thing, but if you look at it, that guy. I mean, Drago was going to keep punching him until he went down. Like, there's no doubt about it. So I think there's, I understand why it was done, but I think either way, Drago was there to punch him until he fell down. And if that meant he's never getting up, like you said, if he dies, he dies. That was his whole.
Take him out.
Right.
It was a Cobra Kai moment.
I don't think throwing in the towel would have stopped that fight.
All right. So the towel does not get thrown in, and Apollo is convulsing on the ground. Brilliantly depicted in a meme from me during our pre-show chat. So they haven't got a doctor yet, and they're already starting the post-fight press conference. Like
that same note. I said, where the fuck is the note?
Turning it over, Rocky's like, let him breathe, Where's the doctor? Where's the doctor? And like, so what do you think of American boxing now, Drago?
Right.
And well, if he does, he does. You know, like
it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's so bonka, like bonkers, crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go back and get this in because we during all the craziness and the dancing, once again, Adrian was the voice of reason. Once again, she's like, you know, what the hell's going on? Did I say that already?
You said it to an earlier one during the press conference.
Yeah. Once again, they flash to Adrian, and Adrian's like, you know, and Rocky's like, what are you gonna do? You know, like
that. I mean, they had to book that. They had to book James Brown ahead of time.
Right.
Get him to write the song, do the choreography, work.
And work with Apollo, obviously. I mean, he had to he was dancing along, you know.
And nobody said no to that along the way.
Right.
Nobody did.
Right.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if they
all
confirmed
on Adrian. Like
I don't think they confirmed with Adrian. Like, hey, Adrian, should we get James Brown? I'm sorry. Should we get the Godfather of Soul to sing this song? And we'll put a big Drago bull in the back, and Apollo will punch it, and it'll fall apart.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think Adrian would have been on board with the bull. Yeah. But not the same.
I mean, she did kind of chuckle though. Like it's kind of like classic Apollo, you know, where she kind of is, you know, given that always to like, you know, like Rocky, like what's going on, like what the fuck's happening here, and then that kind of she did kind of laugh, and then even you know Rocky's always like because that's not his style. He is more quiet. It's like what's happening, but then like oh showgirls and titties, you know, you can't help but smirk. So it is kind of just like, well, it is who it is. That is who Apollo is. So.
Yeah, and then another one, real quick, go back to the press. They ask Apollo and Rocky questions as he's like holding his corpse, his friend.
Yeah. Oh, did they? I didn't notice that.
They have mics, like they're shoved like TMZ in, like shoved it in his face. Like, did he really get you with that last one? Yeah, he's fucking dead.
Yeah, he got me good. I mean, I just can't and that's why I said like you can't look at this through a real boxing lens because obviously in a real boxing,
that's not even fine. That's just reality.
No, but they would have medical staff like right there, like they're not like you know. So you have to just kind of like okay, you know, it's for the dramatics. He's dying in Rocky's arms, you know. So this is the reason why he's going to risk it all to you know avenge his friend's death and you know. So I get it. For the movie, it makes sense. Real life, it makes zero sense that you just you know die like that.
So we cut right to Apollo's funeral. The next couple things that happened very fast. And I have issues with some of it, but I do want to say about the funeral scene. Sylvester Stallone. Nails the dark suit and dark sunglasses at a funeral look. Like it made sense when he was at Mickey's funeral because he had got beaten up and his eyes were all fucked up. But he's just like full on like Cobra style, like with fucking Italian fitted suit, perfect coiffed hair, and fucking some killer ass aviators, and he's rocking that look. The belt that they put on Apollo's casket, so it has a picture of Apollo, and I thought it usually had the picture of the person they won the belt from, and that person looks like they fought Jack Dempsey or somebody in the 30s or 40s. So I begs the question: how long ago did Apollo win the? Was he like 18 years old in like 1955 or something?
Maybe.
Also, more belt trivia. It says on the belt, Ring Magazine Award and World Heavyweight Championship.
I saw that. I wrote that down. I was like, what is that?
Ring Magazine is so much bigger than World Heavyweight Champion. It's a World Heavyweight Championship boxing title, but it's also the Ring Magazine Award. I thought that was another bonkers 80s movie.
That's funny. I didn't notice that. My question about the belt was did somebody take it? Like, did he just leave it there? or did somebody else come grab it, or did the boxing association come get it since he abdicated it? Like, I don't.
Well,
I was wondering what happened to the belt.
They like because like Rocky has a different belt. He has like, I mean, they give him the one when he wins,
right.
But then I guess he like has one made, and then they give the old one back to Apollo to just keep because
so that was Apollo's
later
belt.
movies. Rocky has his belt like in the basement or whatever.
So that was Rocky's belt. That was Apollo's belt.
Apollo's belt because it had Apollo.
But he just left it there. Either way, he just left it there, and I guess somebody had to.
I assume it's buried with him, right?
I guess, yeah. But you
put on top of the casket?
Yeah, you put that in the casket.
Yeah. And then just
you put it on his waist, and you know, if you're gonna do it,
throw it over his shoulder. Like,
I will tell you right now, if I ever become the heavyweight champion and I die, and I get buried, which are all things that aren't going to happen except for the die part, I want you to put the belt on my waist and then and bury me.
Anything else or just the belt?
Just the belt.
So,
maybe.
So you said the burial is not going to happen, or you want?
No, the death. I would rather get cremated. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could just cremate the belt too.
With the belt, with the gold.
It'll melt, but then it will just form like this, like a lava cake center of your ashes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just kind of like hold everything together.
So when I start training next, in 2 weeks and become the heavyweight champion,
I mean, you don't have to be sanctioned to get a belt. We'll buy you a belt.
When I win this year's fantasy football league and we buy a belt, I want you to cremate me with the belt.
When I win for the 4th time. So any other notes on the Apollo funeral? It seems very fast and quick.
My only two the belt, because you already pointed out, because I was like trying to read what was written on the belt, but definitely old school Rocky, not evolved in his speeches. I feel like older Rocky would have had like a speech I would have been like teary to. It was just like, hey, you always a good guy to me. And two, for a man who was very, such a showman and had, or thought he had such a fan base, he didn't really have a big crowd of people at his funeral, where I feel like nowadays an athlete, a champion would have like just hundreds of people. And it was more
they'd
of
have
like
a line of people that could go up and like.
It could have been a private ceremony.
Yeah.
Too. It could have been.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I didn't notice that, but that's interesting. Maybe people didn't like him as much as he thought he did.
Yeah, I could see that. He's kind of a dick.
He's kind of a dick.
I mean, he's a bad guy in Rocky 1 and 2, right?
Speaking of dicks, I think what the next couple scenes, Rocky is fucking is not a good husband and kind of and a complete asshole. So he doesn't even give Adrian the chance to talk him out of it. He apparently goes from the funeral and tells Adrian, like, I guess I'm running errands now or something. Because it goes basically right from the funeral to a press conference where he has already negotiated and signed and signed, sealed, and delivered this match with Drago in Russia on Christmas. Like, they're going out of his way to have the most opposite thing of what you would think you would want. And he still hasn't. And then after that press conference, they cut to Adrian finding out by all these, like, there's more people in her driveway than were at Apollo's funeral, asking her about Russia, and she doesn't know anything. I don't know. My husband's not going to Russia. I don't know what you're talking about. Please leave me alone.
Right.
And then also go back to the press conference. I think the media is American media is such a dick to Ludmilla, my girl Ludmilla. She's just afraid for her husband's life. Like, he got death threats.
Absolutely.
Apollo Creed. Like, if a Russian boxer came to America in the 80s and killed Muhammad Ali, he wouldn't be able. They'd have to get him out of the country right then and there, because they would try to kill him. And she's like, what? I want it to be in Russia because I'm afraid for my husband. And they're all like, oh, come on. Like, they're just dicks.
I did want to say this about the whole Drago thing and the mysterious thing. He was an Olympic boxer, right? So there has to be, he won the gold medal in the Olympics. Like they act like no one's ever seen him fight before. Like there had to have been, like, it's the Olympics. There had to have been some kind of tape somewhere. Like the whole, you know, we've never seen him. We don't know what he's got, this and that. It didn't make any sense to me. It's like, come on,
well,
man.
Apollo mentions, I've seen this guy, he's an amateur.
Yeah.
So he might have seen some, but I also think like he must have dominated so much. Like it was like early Tyson fights where they were like 9 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's just one punch and he's dead.
Maybe.
Or he's, you know, he hasn't killed anyone yet, but you know, he just knocks people out. Yeah, he just knocks people out.
That also speaks to some of the selfishness or how self-evolved, you know, Apollo is or Americans are. Like they only see the quality, or maybe the concept might have been, they only see the quality of Americans. They're not looking at the talent in Russia or, you know, anywhere else beyond them. Hence, they weren't worried about him. Apollo was just like, oh, he's an amateur. He may have knocked people out in 9 seconds, but I'm not worried about him because I'm the best in America.
He's a puncher and I'm a boxer.
Yeah.
Which is what got him into trouble with Rocky. Also, I really agree with the Russians in this press conference too. I love Paulie's line when people are like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm the silent majority, big mouth."
Comrade Big Mouth.
Yeah, comrade. That's such an '80s Paulie.
Yeah.
And I want to end every meeting, whether it's Zoom or in real life, with "We go," and then just get up and leave, because that's how Strago's handler ends the press conference. He's like, you know, going off on America, blah 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 blah, and he just slams his head. "We go," and then they go. It's great. It's so great, and I'm gonna try to remember to end this podcast like that.
I've written it down to try to remember it. All right.
So, do you guys have anything else on the Rocky announcing that he to the world, a lot of stuff that he hasn't even discussed with his wife yet?
No, I agree on that. That's in bold and then underlined in all caps. You know, Rocky told press before Adrian, it's very un-Rocky like, and you know, because he's always so mindful of everything. And I think with this, I was like, what the fuck? I don't remember that part, you know, as a kid. I don't remember the relationship, you know, dynamic. But I just was like, I think he knew he couldn't tell her because she was going to be the voice of reason, you know, make him know that it wasn't the smart choice and probably not talk him out of it, but he didn't want to hear a voice of reason. He was on his mission of avenge my friend, deal with the guilt of not throwing in the towel. So it was easier to not face her until it was all done with. But I was very surprised. When we watched it, I was like, not what a shit, because I still, you know, it's me. I always feel empathetic for people. But I was like, I'm kind of surprised by that move.
Yeah. I agree. And my other note, and I'm sure we're probably going to go into this conversation with Rocky and Adrian, so I don't want to hop too much ahead, but I will say, to lead into it, Adrian talks to Rocky the way Rocky should have talked to Apollo.
Yeah, I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say now, and then you can go ahead and we'll get into it a little bit more. But I agree with everything you guys said about, you know, he was kind of a dick to his wife.
Yeah, it's almost like he's like, I'll ask for forgiveness, I won't ask for permission.
Yeah.
Because she'll say no, and then I'll do it anyways, and then it'll cause up. So I'm just gonna do it, and then I'll come, and then I'll say I'll try to work my way out of it after, you know, I'll get to that bridge. I'll burn that bridge when I get to it.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Or I'll be dead, it won't matter.
Yeah, or I'll be dead, and then she'll, you know,
and that point gets spoken to for sure in their conversation. So.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. He's like, he doesn't want to give her, if he is killed, like give her the burden of she could talk him out of it. Right. He say, you know, she didn't even have a chance. I signed up for it without talking to her, so she didn't even have a chance.
You're right. That's probably what he was doing.
Yeah.
He wasn't a dick after all.
Yeah, that might be.
That's what he was doing.
That might be a stretch, but
that's a stretch. That is some mental gymnastics right there.
No, he was looking out for her best interest.
An argument could be made.
Right.
He didn't want her dealing with the same guilt that he's dealing with Apollo.
Then he just wouldn't have fought at all and not died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you didn't want her to feel bad about him dying, he could just not die.
Yeah.
You
But he
know
doesn't
what?
die. He
Fighters
doesn't die.
fight.
Spoiler alert. Rocky makes
What?
Rocky
Maybe
does
the
not
75
die.
Rockies after 4.
Yeah, it turns out he's a ghost in 5 through 12 or whatever they're on now.
He was looking a little pale.
How many Rockies are there? 8?
Well, it depends. You consider the Creed's
5.
Rockies.
There's 5, and then
Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa,
Which counts because it's one of the best.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
I don't know about that, but it counts. And then
it's because 5 was so horrible.
Do you count the 2 Creeds as Rocky movies?
I think Creed 1 is a Rocky movie. I don't think Creed 2 is.
No, they're in the Creed franchise.
Yeah, okay. Creed 1 is kind of a transition.
So is there only 6 Rocky movies or 7? Then is there another one after Rocky Balboa?
Was there a Rocky 6 before Rocky Balboa? No.
No, there's nothing after Rocky Balboa.
Okay, so there's only 5 Rockies. No, 6 Rockies. 6. So
6.
5 is Tommy Gunn.
5.
Tommy Guns.
I will say 7 because I think Creed is a Rocky movie, and then I think Creed 2 is definitely not a Rocky movie.
I think Creed and Creed 1 fall in the franchise of Creed.
Okay. We'll stick a pin in that. Maybe we'll come when we do the Creed franchise.
We go.
We go on to the next scene. So I'm all like this. More my stuff about how he does a lot of stuff before he gets a lot of plans done. He got the reservation at the Airbnb in Siberia.
Not only that, he talked to Russian officials. Like he got
he made a lot of phone calls and got a lot of shit done behind his wife's back.
He's running errands.
He's running errands.
You know, now you understand why his Apollo speech wasn't that great. He didn't have time. He didn't.
Yeah, he was pre-planning all this.
He had a lot of other shit on it. You know.
Yeah.
He didn't even tell Paulie. Paulie didn't know where he was going. Paulie was just like, "Fuck it, I'm going."
Yeah. So when he finally does come home and confront Adrian, and I might be reading into more stuff on this one too, but is Sylvester Stallone talking about himself as a movie maker and an actor when he's like, you can't change who you are, you just got to keep doing the same, you just got to keep doing the next thing, because that's what he does for the next 15 to 20 years is make the same movie over and over again. So maybe I'm reading too much into that, but it could be that he's kind of like self-reflecting there a little bit. Adrian, and I agreed with you that you said this before, John. Adrian gives the advice in the right order. At first she's absolutely not. This is terrible, but once it's already committed, and when she makes peace with it later, which she does pretty quickly, but I'll talk about that later. When right before she's like, go out and kick his ass or whatever she said. I forget exactly what she says, but she says something to him, like both when she first shows up at camp and then before the fight. Like she says the right things in the right order and the right time. Whereas Rocky did not. He did everything kind of ass backwards with Apollo.
Right. It was never forceful with Apollo. Ever forceful.
Yeah. And yeah, so let's talk about your thoughts on this, and because the next scene is one of my favorites.
Go ahead, Melanie. The conversation.
What? Oh, I mean, the conversation again. I do think it's him reflecting some on his own life. I think all of the Rocky films are that way, because I think each film depicts a different fight in life. But you know, I agree. I think Adrian handles it probably better than most humans would, but you know, she's saying she's not going to support him and she's not going to stand there to see him go through this, but he's going to do what he's going to do. And like he says, this is who you married. I am who I am, and we can't change who we are. All we have to do is kind of, you know, be fluid and change and learn as we grow and we move along. And I think, like you said, she kind of accepted it. She knows she's not going to change his mind, but she's also not going to support him. And he's going to have to take that kind of journey alone. I think one of the things, the reason they do well is she never tells him. She may be aggressive in her tone. You know, she rarely like yells and gets angry, but she is very clear on why is this important? Why do you have to fight this fight? You know, what can you change? What do you have to win? And those are those conversations.
She's very clear. She says, you can't win.
Right.
Right.
And then that's,
and that's
yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the things he struggled with, and he struggled with it. And again, one of the prior films is when he didn't feel that she believed in him. And
both of them, right? Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, right?
Yeah.
No, Rocky 3, she supported him. Rocky 2.
She supported Rocky 2. She didn't. Rocky 1 or Rocky, she did.
Right. Well, okay. Sorry.
But, you know, I think that's, you know, I don't know. That was my big thing there, and him just talking about, you know, he'll have to, you know, look him in the face and kill him, but he can't change who he is because he's a fighter, and he may have that sheer strength, but was it Rocky had heart, and his heart will be what gets him there. And I think at the end of the day, Adrian is that heart for him. So that connection, I think, is what will keep him winning.
Yeah, that's what and that's what I have. I agree. She was more forceful in this one. She definitely yells at him here. She definitely tells him flat out, you can't win. And then his response is great, you know, and I think you put on it. I think I don't know if I have it all right. I'm going to paraphrase. To beat me, he's going to have to kill me. To kill me, he's going to have to stand in front of me. And to do that, he's going to have to be willing to die himself. And I'm not sure if he can. And I think that is, you know, that's Rocky, right? That's 100% who Rocky is. Rocky doesn't win on technique. I mean, he's got punching power, but Rocky's there because he keeps moving forward. He's always willing.
He's more
to
committed
go,
than
he's more committed. He's always going to go and do what it takes to win, you know, and you know, life's going to knock you down. You gotta get, you know, it's not how hard life knocks, you know, whatever. It's how, if you get up or not. So I think that's a good Rocky.
Good Rocky.
Oh, and I think it's a good place like for him. And then obviously it leads into a wonderful, wonderful montage, which is it montage number 2?
Yeah, it's driving angry montage time. So this movie's only an hour and a half, and I'm pretty sure it's about 45 minutes of montages in there.
It's not.
It's a lot of montage.
It's at least a 5-minute long montage, this one. And it is a full-on Survivor music video.
Hearts on Fire, yeah.
No, this is No Easy Way Out.
No Easy Way Out, yeah. This is No Easy Way Out.
Hearts on Fire
is the training.
Is the driving, yeah.
The driving is, and here's a pick, a nit to pick. His license plate says Southpaw, but with no U.
Right.
I understand that's because you're only supposed to have this many letters or whatever in a person. But it's a fucking movie. Just make it say Southpaw. Come on.
Well,
that's a weird thing to be like.
This is a real movie, Jeff.
Okay. Because there's other times.
It's a documentary.
It's a
documentary.
But this is it's just like a close up,
right.
Like Rocky explaining this shot to his cinematographer, just like, okay, so we're going to cut back and forth from close-ups of me driving, shifting, and just...
And flashing lights on my face. Make sure
the lights go by. I look really cool in that kind of light. So we'll have that intercut with everything that we already know has happened and have already had a recap of early on, a large portion of this at the beginning of the movie. Let's just we need to stop and just rehash everything.
In case anybody forgot what happened to Apollo 2 minutes ago. Let's go ahead.
Apollo's dead. He's not going to be in the rest of the movie. So let's get a couple more.
This is back when films had intermission. So if they just came in, they need to know why is he going to Russia? Does anyone know? Oh, I got it now. So apparently Apollo died and he's pissed, and I guess Adrian is too. So now you know.
And there is no easy way out. You know, there is no shortcut home. There's no shortcut home.
Yeah.
And I also, there's more irony in this one because I find it ironic that the song is called "There's No Easy Way Out," but making this a montage is the easy way out of the resurrection. And oh my God, like. I rage love this. Like it was a very hate love.
I did write down in my notes, no easy way out. Better song than Eye of the Tiger? ?
I don't think so. I think that
It's a good song.
the guitar
I think
riff
it's very undervalued. It's a good song.
It's good. It's a nice little hook, but the guitar riff in
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger is like iconic.
Yeah. I think it's sneaky good. No easy way out. It's
sneaky good. Yeah, sure, but not the best.
Not Eye of the Tiger.
I mean, people don't put Easy Way Out on their gym workout.
Well, I'm saying more people should put No Easy Way Out on their gym.
When you train for your next world title, put it on there.
I will.
Just a loop.
Next time I'm angry at and not knowing, and I'm driving around with flashing lights, I will crank No Easy Way Out.
Yes.
That's what's gonna happen.
That is totally the Footloose montage where he's anger dancing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never find your brilliantly redone in Hot Rod.
Hot Rod, yeah. When I was rage dancing, was it anger dancing or rage dancing?
It might be rage dancing. I don't remember. So now we're going on, and Rocky is packing to leave. So Rosie the robot is like a nag now. Like that's the part of their relationship they met. They're like, now, Polly, you know to wear sweaters or something. Like it's like she's not sexy anymore.
Yeah.
She's just it's.
Who's programming this robot?
It's not whatever you say, Polly, anymore. I think it's the kid. The kid fucking with his Uncle Polly. Yeah.
He's a jerk kid. I told you.
He got Polly, his Uncle Polly, to fall in love with this robot, and then he turns around and
the first catfish. We've witnessed the first catfish in front of our eyes.
Wait a second.
This is 90 Day Fiancé.
Son said something very smart in the beginning. He said, "Don't go too fast, Dad, or you'll get out of focus." I feel like that was one of those hidden gem quotes that Rocky slipped in there. That's true,
Rocky,
right? When he starts moving too fast. Sylvester Stallone. Whoever. Rocky couldn't have come up with that. Yeah. He starts moving too fast. He gets, his life gets out of focus. Telling you.
And he moves pretty fast in this little segue. He goes from funeral to planning session to he's leaving tomorrow.
Yeah.
You just get the Adrian's staring daggers from the window, and Rocky kind of doesn't even give her a wave or a kiss or anything. Just
she should have said goodbye. She should have came down and said goodbye, or he should have went up.
She absolutely should have.
Yeah.
You both got to get over your pride at that point.
Yeah. And then we get into the coming to I'm back in the USSR. I don't know why they didn't. They instead went with another Survivor song.
This is American
for this next montage, but
I was gonna say
back
in case you didn't have enough montage time.
Yeah,
let's get another montage real quick.
This montage they break a little bit to have the dialogue with the Russian guy who's their concierge, kind of like who set up all this stuff. When he picks him up, and then they go right back into the song and montage it up.
And then training montage.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Some Polly lines, Polly line. What are you gonna do? Grow some reindeers? He's gonna plant some. Do you plant the antlers?
I think so.
In a reindeer grow?
Sprinkle some dust on there, and
And he said, I got a bad dream here. That's what the subtitles. I thought he said I got a bad feeling.
I thought
but the subtitles say I had a bad dream here. Which I kind of like better.
Right.
That's just a Pauly Rocky, like how they always.
Well, I think he felt like he said like the place is a nightmare or something. I feel like nightmare was used at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pauly also has a "Don't Tread on Me" flag on the back of his jacket when he falls into the snow, which is seems on brand for him.
You pointed that out.
That's what I said. I said to Melody, I was like, "That's what he gets when he falls in the snow." I was like, "That's what he gets when a "Don't Tread on Me." Even though I'm sure back then it meant something different than it means now. But
so what did you guys think of montage number 7?
I love all montages. I thought the montage was fine.
They're amazing. They keep me up to speed.
It gets us where we want to go, right?
It accomplished what it needed to accomplish. They're in Russia now. The Russians are kind of dicks, but
Yeah.
Rocky kind of asked for it.
Right.
He specifically requested no.
I didn't think the Russians were dicks. They were like, okay, this is what you wanted. Did we give you what you wanted? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, they're like, these people will fall anywhere you go, they go.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you don't think that we had? We probably didn't have people following them.
Nah, we didn't have it. We
maybe
thought it was
like,
an exhibition.
maybe covertly,
Yeah.
but not
Not out there. in the open.
not this is Boris, this is Natasha.
Right.
They're they'll be using your
This is
bathroom
Boris.
every 6 to 8 hours.
Well, and then the one guy was
He's playing chess.
The guy was playing
Yeah.
chess. The guy that chopped the wood or whatever. I guess he was like
Yeah.
the houseboy or something. I don't know what he was. Butler.
So Duke comes up to once Rocky gets settled in. Duke comes up, and it's a nice little speech. I think by Duke. I'm a big fan of Duke as a character.
Mm.
Is he in anything after this? I don't think so. I think this might be. I think he's just in 1 through 4 because he's Apollo's main guy in
Right.
1 and 2, and then him and Apollo kind of help.
Well, Rocky doesn't. Well, Rocky only boxed one more time in the ring, right? Against.
Yeah.
He doesn't box at all in the ring against Tommy Gunn.
Yeah.
And then it was Rocky Balboa, and I don't know if
Duke
Duke
might have not been with us at that point.
Yeah.
But then
I mean,
that
the
was the
gym
perfect
leader in
opportunity.
Creed,
Yeah.
Well, it's his son.
son, yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, I thought you might have some Duke knowledge of maybe, but I guess maybe. But you said his son owns a gym.
His son is a trainer in a Creed. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Everything's second generation.
Yeah.
Doesn't Drago have a son in the?
Yeah,
Creed
he
movies?
fights Drago's son in Creed too. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Spoiler alert.
But he didn't say who won. He just said that that's who he fights.
Well, Melody, you had feelings about the Duke speech, didn't you? Like
I did. I don't think I actually. I don't think I actually wrote it down, but I did. I liked it.
Good little speech by Duke, but it's. I remember he's like, this is another repeating thing. He's just like, you know what you have to do it.
No,
And then he leans in a little bit and he goes, do it.
I'll kind of rehash the conversation, Melody. Like you, at this point, like I mean, maybe you changed your mind as we've gone through it or whatever. But you were saying like you thought they were putting too much on Rocky again. Like everything was about him, and because the whole conversation is like about, doing it. You gotta do it.
I do. I have it in here.
Yeah.
No, go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to misquote you, or when you can, I was just trying to refresh your memory.
Yeah, I liked his speech in it because I thought it was motivational and it's very simple. It's not over the top. It's not a normal Rocky Balboa speech. But it fell in line with, I feel like people kept putting that weight and that pressure on Stallone or Rocky's character. Like it's his responsibility to come there and keep Apollo's spirit alive or keep his,
well,
the trainer or Duke.
He did all the negotiating stuff himself. Like he.
She's just talking about the conversation. Though.
But when Duke's in that, he said or win or do what's right, do it, like you said. But that he's there to keep his spirit alive, and I feel like yes, he put that pressure on himself, but I think it still stems back from he didn't think he should be in the fight, but he wants to support him. He probably wanted to throw in the towel, but he was asked not to. And now he's kind of left with this guilt. So now he's trying to revenge his friend's death because he probably feels like he's dead because of him. And now you've got someone else saying, it's your responsibility to keep the spirit alive. And he's putting this whole boxing and friendship relationship maybe before his relationship with his wife or, with Adrian, when he knows he doesn't need to, he shouldn't have to. And if he felt confident in, he probably would have talked to her about it, and that was that repeating theme that I kept seeing where he's taking on the roles and responsibilities of other people. And that was, that's my observation. I felt bad for him.
I kind of felt like Duke was just trying to say like, you're gonna put yourself through hell right now. Like this guy is a monster. You have to be in the right frame of mind. This is all it is. And then start adopting a little bit later in the training montage, the whole no pain thing, no pain, no pain. It's just basically you have to, this is it. This is all you can focus on. You know, Apollo didn't do that. Apollo was all over the place and he paid, and now it's on you and you have to do it the right way. And I think that's what it was meant to be, motivation. I understand your aspect, you know, your point where Melody, it's like, hey, you know, why does Rocky have to pay for everybody else's sins? It's not, you know, they're not his sins. Why is it all on him? But I don't think it was intended that way. I think it was more, we have to get to the other side, and this is the way we're going to do it.
Right. And we all know, again, there's still no easy way out. Like we saw that 2 montages ago.
Right.
Yeah, and we have no easy way out. The reprise with the side by side. This is like the defining. I think we can say this is the moment when montages might have jumped the shark in 80s movies, because this is the best one, right? You can never. There's no coming back from side by side. Everything that Drago's doing, Rocky's doing a lo-fi version of. If he's pulling a cart like a dog, then Drago's just on that machine. And, you know, like instead of Drago doing this, he's chopping wood. And instead of just lifting weights, he's lifting up the cart with Duke and Paulie and Adrian. Or that's later. Because they go back. There's a part 2 of this side by side montage.
That's what I was gonna say. How many times have you seen 2 montages for the same training session? I mean, that's in itself, that's a feat. Like that should have won some sort of award.
It was really
when you rewind it,
4 montages
for the same training session.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, and also more of my deep thoughts on the Rocky franchise. Is this scene a commentary on the evils of technology, or is it just a ham-fisted attempt to ram home the idea Russians are bad, Americans are good?
I say neither. I think it's more Rocky is more, you know, is focused, and, you know, Rocky's doing what he needs to do. And I think it goes back to what Melody said in the beginning, where Drago is just a lab rat. And you just see like them putting him through all these paces, doing all this stuff, you know, giving him steroids. Like he has no say in anything he does. They're just pushing him to the absolute limit, and they're using all their technology, and they're using, you know, their chemicals and all that. Where Rocky is going, you know, old school, focus strictly on one task only. So
you do think it's a commentary on evils of technology.
Yeah. So I think it is the evils and
I think it's more the way they treated him. Like not necessarily like I don't think the technology itself is bad. I think it's the way they treated him.
Well, yeah, it's technology doesn't have heart, and getting back to nature and carrying logs through the snow and dragging a cart like a sled dog it has more heart.
But I think it's the way
they both.
Go ahead. No, you go.
They both have focus, so I don't think you could say, or I wouldn't say that they don't have focus. They're both focused on winning and winning for a reason. The challenge is Rocky, or it's not a challenge. Rocky is focused because of heart, and he has a purpose. And I think he goes back to core, and he's a little more simplistic, where Drago, in his lab rat kind of way, is focused by what he's told, what he has to do, not because he wants to. Though, and as we get to, he says why he's fighting at the tail end, but it's not heart driven. So whether it's technology or the chemicals or anything, the motivation is for 2 completely different reasons. And at the end of the day, Rocky's always simple. He's going to be chasing chickens and getting the same result.
Yeah, and running on the beach and,
and
short shorts and high knee socks. So in the middle of the back-to-back side-by-side montages, Adrian shows up at camp. I guess it took her however long it took Rocky to grow that.
It took her 1 montage. It took her 2 montages.
Yeah. And then 1.5 maybe 1.5 montages, which is only like.
I mean, that's a unit of time. In Rocky movies, that's definitely
yeah. It's only about 1/10 of the total montages, so not very long. So all her concerns are she's in now. She's just needed some time or something. I thought that was kind of weird. And this is another another repeat thing. At the end, she says, "I'm with you no matter what," and he's like, "No matter what," and she's like, "No matter what," and that's it. That her mind is made up now. I'm okay with this. So what did you guys think of Adrian coming on board the Rocky Express, the Russian Revenge Express?
You know, I think it's predictable, and the Rocky and Adrian, you know, they're, you know, by each other side. So I didn't honestly think much of it when I was younger. I was like, well, it's about time you supported your man. But because I wasn't as shocked by him not telling her when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't even think that fazed me when I was younger. But even as an adult, I was still like, you've got to support him because you're crushing him by not believing in him. So I think her showing up is very, you know, he lives off her heart and support. So I think being there made sense. It wasn't surprising. I'm wondering how she gets there. How did they afford tickets to Russia and find him and have this great snow, you know, coat? They live in California or something. So, but you know, I'd go there and watch him work out in the snow.
Yeah. And then it gets
support
back
his dreams.
It gets back to Rocky always breaks that unwritten rule of no nookie before the fight. Like even going back to one, like he like any opportunity to get with Adrian right before the fight. That I guess he's debunking that myth that you're not supposed to have sex right before.
Wait, do they don't show that they get naked?
No, they never show. I don't think they.
Well, I mean, they're a married couple in a cabin, a nice little ski lodge-esque cabin in the beautiful Russian countryside.
With their brother.
I think they're getting down. I mean, it's hard for me. I mean, if he defied Mickey when Mickey said, you know,
That's
no sleeping,
true.
like I don't see at this point why he wouldn't just. He's like, that's kind of our thing. We go against the grain on that one. All right, so we're and the second montage ends with Rocky literally reaching the top of the mountain and then stealing from Star Trek Revenge of the Khan, the Wrath of Khan. Instead of Khan, he's Drago, which he also does once he finally lifts the cart up completely over his head and he gets full extension. He gives us one Drago, and then he gets to the mountain and we get three Dragos shaking his fist at the air and just
leaning a little too far back for my liking when you're on that he's on a little ledge and he's
that whole scene gives me like vertigo and
and the movie's over. Rocky dies.
Right. And if he dies, he dies.
Yeah. So it turns out Drago can't kill Rocky, but falling to your death will. All right. So now it is time to go to the USA Network for their broadcast of this fight in Russia. Nickname alert, he's now Death from Above. I did like the guy they got to play the fake Gorbachev. They didn't really name him. They just said the premier, and he had the birthmark and everything. It was kind of subtle though. It wasn't very pronounced. It was very understated. And then, like I said, backstage, I like Paulie's speech. Didn't make a whole lot of sense, but not usually does. If I could unzip myself and become someone else, it would be you. First of all, the unzipping thing is a little Invasion of the Body Snatchers-esque. And then also, like, of course, if Paulie could be somebody else, wouldn't you want to be Rocky? You know, like, I mean, I guess other than sleeping with his sister, but he kind of has this weird relationship with her anyways. But like, yeah, of course you would want to be the world famous, world heavyweight champion, rich, buying people robots and sports cars guy, and not just the hanger on. Of course. But then he brings it all home with, "You're all heart, Rock." And he goes back to what you were saying, like his heart is his redeeming thing that drives him to success, is how dedicated he is, and how focused he becomes once he has his goal, once he knows what his thing is for that movie, and what his goal is.
Whatever was dictated to him in the previous montage.
Yeah, whatever he wrote for his character. So what do you guys think of the opening fake Gorbachev and then Paulie's little speech backstage before they go out?
I'm a fan. We both commented on was that supposed to be Gorbachev? We were assuming it was, kind of looking for the spotting. It was very, again, everything's so structured for Dolph Lundgren's character. It was just, again, he just felt like a show pony. Definitely like Paulie's speeches. Paulie's an unlikable character that has these very subtle, far and few between redeeming moments. And I think Burt Young is one of these underrated actors that does really good at those little baby cries when he does them, and he just like pulls at you. So
yeah,
I definitely liked it. With the saying, he knows he's a dick. He knows anyways, I have a lot of feelings on Paulie's character. And, I think I think in his brain, he's like, "Oh shit, you may die. And thanks for being good to me," and all of those things. So, and Adrian's face and acknowledging that moment, I think also when they pan to her face, she's such a good nonverbal actress when she's like, "Oh, my brother's not a total dick." And I think she knows that moment was hard for him. So I liked that. I liked that they didn't seem too moved by how like intimidating the arena was. So I liked it. My biggest takeaway was, of course, Paulie's little scene.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I agree. I think it was a good scene. I liked his focus. I liked, how, it wouldn't have mattered where Rocky was and who he was fighting and who was watching. He was ready to do what he had to do. And he knew he was going to be in for, he was going to have to go to hell and back, and he was definitely looked like he was ready to do it. Like if you juxtapose that and then Apollo, it's like, and obviously the contrast is there for a reason, right? So I did like that. I did like, he was all business. Whoever was in front of him, he was gonna go through him one way or another.
Yeah. So the actor who played Soviet leader, which is as he is titled in, was a British actor named David Lloyd Austin, and I'm looking at his IMDb page, which he played Gorbachev in Naked Gun, and also Gorbachev in Counter-Strike, and then Admiral Sergei Yurov in The Outer Limits. So he had a very not some very a lot of Gorbachev related stuff. He also played Gorbachev in the Billy Crystal special Midnight Train to Moscow.
You need a Gorbachev, you call that man. That's
yeah. He was like the guy who always played George Bush impersonator. So okay, so we're moving on now to I don't know where are we at. So the entrance, there's a lot of cuts to close-ups of their faces as as Rocky is standing there and Drago is coming in. So and also it's so they're playing the Russian national anthem, I assume, and Rocky is like fucking pissed. Like how dare like my buddy played had a full-on Super Bowl halftime show, but they're playing the Russian national anthem when this guy's coming out, and like and everybody's saluting and everything, and like I was like, that seems a bit like, I mean, I don't know. I guess use whatever you need to get motivated, but that seems like a bit much. Also, when they announce Ivan Draga in Russian, it's pronounced Ivan Draga, because that's how the ring announcer pronounces it, which is weird because why would they? Is Drago the American version of Draga?
Well, the ring announcer, was he Russian? What did they do with the mustache again, or?
No, the white guy was super.
The mustache was the Apollo 5. Yeah. This was a Russian. Yeah. So I just thought that was weird. You don't have to mention unless you have anything about just the ring entrances. No, that was just me. Just me. Okay.
I didn't care about the national anthem.
Yeah. Also more just weird side stuff before we get into the actual fight. The announcer is British, and he sounds like a golf announcer. He's like, oh, the champion with an excellent play there, and now, oh, he's really a large man. Oh, look at the size of this chap. And then so Duke's pre-fight thing is be a rock, not be rock, be a rock, and no pain.
Take his heart.
Yeah. And later on, he yells, "Brace yourself," which, I don't know how many boxers were saved by their cornermen just randomly, "Brace yourself," like you're not ready to fight halfway through the first round already. You're not bracing yourself. So I thought that was a little funny. And into the round one, Drago starts to get a little cocky. He's like holding his hands up and like showing his abs and like telling Rocky to hit him in his abs. Like that's it's the first time Drago kind of gets American. He's starting to be like an American now.
He's full on villain mode now. Like before, he was. It's a subtle. Now he's full on villain. Like
but then he changes back, and then there's like more redeeming stuff later. But So what do you guys think? And also Drago just beats the living shit out of Rocky. Rocky does have some comebacks, but the first round is I definitely give to Drago. So 10.
First 3 rounds, right? Yeah.
Well, now round 2. We'll get to round 2 in a second. But any thoughts on just the initial opening and the first salvo of this 15-round bout?
I'll let you go now.
I mean, I don't have much. I just think, it's just, as I was saying before, I mean, it's all about Rocky's heart, right? Take his heart. This guy, Rocky's never faced anybody like Drago, but Drago's never faced anybody like Rocky. Like, Rocky is willing to go in there and get his brains beat in. No matter what, he's going to keep coming. And that's the whole point. Like, Drago's not going, can he withstand the relentless attack of Rocky? And Rocky's going to take his heart, and he's not going to let him stop him from doing what he needs to do. And I think that's kind of what they're establishing.
Yeah. And I think agree. That's it. I don't think Drago. No, they don't really talk much about his previous fights. How good he is and how strong he is. It appears in some of Duke's speech to him as he hasn't been hurt before. And one of the things that he says about the heart is if you hurt him, you'll take his heart, and then he's not going to have anything left. If he had a heart to begin with. But that's how you're going to get to him and break him down, because we're all aware that Rocky is all heart. And like you said, he'll just keep going and going and going and going. And that southpaw kind of beating way. So that bracing and being prepared for it, because the beating's coming. It's just how long until he breaks Drago down.
Yeah, I think later in the round 3 through 13 montage.
Wait, hold on. We skipped.
No, I haven't skipped. I'm just saying I am skipping ahead a little bit, but we're coming back.
Right, but before round 1, we skipped one of the most iconic parts of the movie.
Oh yeah,
the "I Must Break You."
I must break you. Another.
Yeah.
I was gonna write down all of Drago's lines because he has like 4.
Like 5.
Yeah, he has a couple in Russian. He has a couple in Russian, but all his English lines are like, if he dies, he dies. I must break you.
You will lose.
This is harkening back to 3, where dead meat and mess you up. Or no, what does he say? What is Clever Lang? What is Clever Lang's clever one-liners at the?
I pity the fool.
Well, no.
I mean, dead meat is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
He says something like "mess you up" or something like it.
Well, then the prediction is pain.
Yeah. Any predictions? Pain. Yeah.
And of course, when he hits on Adrian's always the best.
Adrian.
Yeah. Show you a real man. So we're into round 2 now. At the end of round 2, or after Rocky has a bit of a comeback, so it's hard for me to score this round. I'll go ahead and give it to our hero, Rocky.
I'm impressed that you're trying to score the rounds.
Well, it's
I didn't write any
impossible once
rounds.
we get to the montage because it's not showing the whole rounds. But
Right.
I'll make guesses at it. But so it ends with Drago holding. Drago has amazing strength with his which is basically a boxing glove is a mitten, a giant mitten. He's holding Rocky down, and this is the famous one that later I think in 5, this is where he got his brain damage. He holds him down and just overhand rights sticks him after the bell, and that which causes Rocky to then spike him Goldberg style, a little single leg takedown. From it harking back to his wrestling days from
Against,
when he takes down Thunderlips. So that came in handy. That was an exhibition, that match. Where Rocky gets picked up and pressed out and thrown out of the ring. So they both would have been disqualified, but we both know that we're suspending disbelief on that.
There's no rules in Russia.
No.
Russian rules are definitely
different.
Yeah.
Now, Rocky wouldn't have won that round. Didn't he get knocked down twice in that round? He got knocked down like a couple times in each first round. So he would have.
I think he was pummeled in all of the rounds.
He was definitely knocked. He was definitely knocked down twice in the first round, and
I think twice more in the
maybe at least
second
one. He falls down one time just because he's.
But then he gets up and gets knocked down.
He swings and misses and just falls down, which would happen a lot more with the haymakers they throw in Rocky movies, because everything is a fucking is just.
But it's not until. Yeah, from your butt.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming from the cheap seats.
But it's not until round 3 where he cuts him. Right, he cuts him in round 3.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In somewhere in the early in the round 3 to 13 montage, he cuts Drago, and then Duke he's a man, just like he's not a machine. Right. He's a man, and a man can be beat. Then he basically tells Rocky that you have to be a machine, no pain. A human being feels pain. You're not feeling pain.
You're right.
So you're either a psychopath or a machine yourself, and that's the only way you can win. Right. Again, I might be reading a little bit into that, but
no, I mean it's the whole. That's his what he has to do. I'm sorry, Melody. You look like you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm 100% agreeing, and then I'm thinking in my brain. I think I know what you were going to say, but really not. Go ahead.
That he that's what he had to do. He had to go to that place. And then and it's funny, like you can see Drago on the other side continuously calling him pathetic and weak. And then you could see like it's what Duke said is starting to take place. He's starting to doubt. He's like, no, it's like hitting iron. Like I cannot. And you see like his body language at the end, like when Rocky keeps on getting up, he's like, what the hell do I have to do to beat this guy? So it's like everything that they talked about, their whole game plan, you can see it happening. Rocky's getting the shit kicked out of him, but it's not stopping him. He's not even, taking the full, 10 count. He's getting up 1, 2, whatever, getting knocked down, popping back up, getting knocked down, getting popped back up. And, this is what he had to do. He's going to take his heart. And that's what they show happen. That's what the montage is. Him, getting it and then giving it. And Drago just has never dealt with anything like it before. And you could see it's frustrating him, and you can see that he's losing his confidence to it.
Right. And he's completely, because he said the whole line about this guy's made of iron, like what's happening. And instead of having a corner man or a cut man that's supporting him, being like, go out there and fight, they're just, well, they're obviously supposed to badmouth Rocky, but they're like, he's a weak man, and then they're blaming Drago, you know, about everything. It's his fault this is happening, and why is he failing, and he has to win, and then that's going to segue into his later kind of anger rage about who and why he's there and who he's winning for. But
right around round 11, Russia starts to turn on their native son and starts chanting Rocky.
Like Phillies fans.
Yeah. I argue it's more like Yankees fans. Like, they're known for the Bronx cheer. Like, if their guys aren't living up to their hype, they'll turn on them in a second. And Russia's kind of like that. That's also kind of corresponds with his corner team kind of giving him shit. You know, like, and the Rocky chant starts.
And then the guy comes down. Yeah, the guy comes down.
Yeah, the guy comes down.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and that leads to Drago's speech where he said, "I fight to win for me," and then he turns to Russian leader and says, "For me," in Russian. So that doesn't count as one of his 4 lines. But I did like that because it was a little more, humanizes the Drago a little bit more. And
well, go ahead and watch Creed 2 and see how that worked out for him.
Yeah. So I like a villain that's kind of, you know.
He's not a villain. He was a victim just like everybody else.
Yeah.
He was a lab rat, like Melody has said. He was taught this way. He was trained to be what he was, a killer. And, and that's, he was told, just like we were told Russians were awful. I don't want to steal Rocky's thunder at the end of the movie, but, just like, he was told Americans were awful and we were this and we were that. And, so he thought what he thought. And, and then at the end, it's like, he's like, at the end, he's like, fuck all of you. This is for me. I'm my own person. I'm putting my foot down, kind of, that, I don't need any of you. I don't need any of this. What I'm doing is because I'm doing it because that's what I want to do. That's how I saw it.
We go. I'm sorry, no one started anyone.
We go on to the next round. So somewhere in there too is Duke's "All Your Strength, All Your Power." That's
no pain.
No pain. Yeah, all your strength, all your power. I think I may have used that in an improv scene where I was a football coach or a boxing ring man or something. That's kind of one of my go-tos. Also, every the Al Pacino speech in Any Given Sunday. Every inch, every yard, until you won the game. I used some version of those two.
I kind of feel like I want to watch that movie tonight now.
It's Oliver Stone is not much better of a director than Sylvester Stallone. So there are some. I have issues with that movie too.
I think you're probably just better off just YouTubing that speech. And
that's probably the way to go. You'll probably get physically ill from watching the football scenes because there are those like crazy cuts. He must cut so many fucking times. Like that whole movie is done in the editing room.
Right.
It's crazy, but that's not the movie we're talking about. We go back to this. So so now we're in round 15. Obviously, Rocky's behind on points because Duke tells him you got to knock him out to win, which is pretty much the every last round of every boxing movie. The person who ultimately wins is behind on points and can only the only way to win is to knock him out. A slight change. If it's a wrestling movie, then you're too far behind on points and you need to pin him or else. But that's
I think that's also why it was critical for Drago, to think that, for them to say all this stuff about him being weak and then he's like, no, it's for me, because realistically, if it's a real life boxing match, you're just jabbing and running, and winning the fight. And he doesn't do that,
He can see, especially with his reach, he could just stay away from running.
It could have been
hold him. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold him at bay.
Yeah. So, they had to have Drago being a willing participant to make it, happen. So.
Yeah, and then so when it comes down to the final, when Rocky finally knocks out Drago, on rewatching it, it wasn't as impressive as some of his other knockouts. I think. What did you guys think? This was also like 20 minutes before we started recording, so I may have been kind of going fast through it.
Well, I agree. I don't think it was like a Mike Tyson, like this huge power punch. I think it was this buildup of like, Jesus God, will you go down? Like, and when he finally, he goes down, I think he gets back up and then he goes down again. I think he's just like shocked. Like, is he fucking down yet? Like, I can't see. And I think that was more realistic, because I think as much as I love, the Rocky films, in real life, that wouldn't have happened. And it even to the point where it makes me question, did Drago actually want to get back up, or was he done? Like, he's been turned on, no one's supporting him. And some of me thinks he just stayed down. But I don't think it was supposed to be a dramatic, over-the-top win, because I think that would have been less realistic. And we all know that Rocky is based on pure realism in the fights. So I don't think Rocky could ever get a full power southpaw punch in on him. Ever.
You didn't get the dramatics of he put everything he possibly had into the punch, went down with the punch like, he's done in the past. Yeah. And,
also, even in at the end of Rocky 1, which he doesn't win, there's the music, the like that, like, and then the big bell ringing, like it's really, I guess maybe because Sylvester Stallone didn't direct the first Rocky, or did he direct the first Rocky movie?
He wrote it.
He wrote it.
Yeah, I don't think he directed. He probably didn't have the.
But it was like it was much more like dun, dun,
Well,
dun, 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 like it was more set up dramatically in the movie. This was just kind of like he punched him a bunch of times and he finally went down.
I will say it was probably more muted because of what happens after. I think the ending for this movie wasn't him winning the fight. It was his speech afterwards. So I think it was just a way to get there, and without, being, I guess, too braggadocious, like, haha, we rushed his ass, whatever. It was just kind of like he finally overcame it. He finally did enough. He got it. And then he's going to address the crowd. And I don't know if you want to get right into it or if you have.
Yeah. So I just have one quick note. Again, another wrestling steal where the announcer, after Rocky knocks him out, steals Gorilla Monsoon's patent phrase, "Absolute pandemonium."
Yeah. It was.
So, and then, so my notes on the Rocky speech afterwards are, Rocky ends the Cold War.
Obviously.
And I'm pretty sure Sylvester Stallone is like, okay, I'm gonna write this speech that is gonna really like end the Cold War. Like, I think Sylvester Stallone believes he brought down the Berlin Wall with this speech. And it's a pretty good speech. Two guys almost killing each other is better than 20 million. If I can change and you can change, we can all change, which I think Bill Murray steals from in Scrooge at the end. He's like, if I can change, then you can change, and we can all have the miracle. Like he that's a pretty that's pretty impressive that he steals a Sylvester Stallone written phrase there. So what do you guys think of the Rocky ending the Cold War speech?
Well, I believe it's obviously true. He ended the war, and I was kind of waiting for him to do a new one today to end a lot of the violence and issues going on. But I do think there actually is some odd truth that I don't know the facts on, but something about when the film was originally getting written, the time frame of Berlin Cold War stuff going on, and them adjusting the end of that end speech. I feel like I've heard this. I feel like I've read this. I could be making it up in my brain, but I think there is some truth to that end scene being adjusted based upon what was going on in history in that time, probably with Rocky or Sylvester Stallone thinking he could have some impact on the Cold War, in which obviously he did. But I think
this was probably right around the Reagan speech where he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall." It didn't actually go down until '89, I think.
And this movie is 85, right?
This one is 85. Yeah.
Rocky just sowed the seeds, and they just.
Yeah, he was
So
on the
Reagan,
ground. He was on the ground floor of Perestroika. Or
Reagan
Glasnost.
stole his speech. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Murray, Ronald Reagan.
Everybody.
Only the greats steal from the greats, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
I
liked it. That was it. That's what I was saying. I liked it. It was simple. It wasn't, it shows to the fact that he's not super smart, but he's got heart and he can speak to the basics of like, hey, can't we just, get along and not fight?
Yeah. I thought it was fun. I thought it was appropriate for the movie. I thought, that was, what you that's what you want out of that movie, because you have kind of positioned the Russians as bad people, as cheaters and this and that. And at the end of the day, I think you showed the ugliness of both, with Apollo and the grandstanding, and then, the cheating of the Russians. It's just like, hey, let's just try and not be better to each other, right? So that's it.
Right, and it still ties in that people can't change who they are. They can only change the way they think, because he says that to Adrian. He says it in his conversations with Apollo, and he says when he walked in there, I didn't feel like you guys liked me too much. I could tell you didn't like me, and I didn't like you, but that halfway through, that feeling changed. So if we can do that, I think it's a continuation of we can change our mindset, even if we can't change who we are. And again, I stay to it. Sylvester Stallone's a genius. He's changing lives. But no one's speaking to how do you like your girl Brigitte Nielsen at the end of this movie? How do you like the way she behaves, or
what is she? I didn't really notice. What is she? Was she like?
She did well. She still she still stands by his side kind of at the end, but she yells at him, and then the leader guy, not Gorbachev, comes down and yells at him when he doesn't win. But she still stands with at the end, John.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember if she actually walked out. I mean, I think I'm confusing Creed 2 with this. Yeah. Because in Creed 2, they talk about how she left him, and she left the fight, and she leave again, and that. I think that's a problem. I think Creed 2 puts a different light on her than Jeff probably sees for us. Because it seems like she was just like everything else. She was just a tool to all of them. And when he lost his usefulness, then they just moved on to something else. And that's what it kind of felt like.
So is she pregnant with Drago's? Is she the mom of Drago's kid?
Yep.
So is she like pregnant at this fight?
I guess so. I think so. I think they
leave. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so.
She gave up on Drago, but she's like, I got Drago Jr. right here.
It makes sense because
start
Creed
working on this one.
Right. Creed is born around the same time, because obviously Apollo's dead. You can't have any babies after, or at least she's impregnated.
Unless he had some frozen. He froze some of his boys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's adopted. Remember, he's not from Felicia Rashad. He's not from that mom. Remember?
No, Apollo was stepping out on his wife.
Right.
Okay. But he still had to be alive to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We all agree on that part. Right. Even Sylvester Stallone wouldn't try to mess up the science on that one. Yeah. All right. That's so let's go around the room with final thoughts. Comparing it, watching it now to when you first watched it, and what's your overall opinion of Rocky IV? Ladies first.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I still like it. I can say I probably didn't like it as much when I watched it the other night as I remember liking it even 10 years ago or 5 years ago. But I think because I felt bad for too many of the characters to enjoy it as just like a boxing film. So I I still think Sylvester Stallone's a good writer, and I like that the fight is never just about the fight is never about the boxing. It's about something more than that. It is still not my favorite Rocky, but I liked it. I liked Dolph Lundgren's character more than I originally did, and I would watch it again. It's still definitely better than the Tommy Guns one. So I favored it, and I enjoyed being able to watch some of it with younger generations because AJ was there for a little bit and let her tie in. Do you know who this Apollo is? Do you realize whose dad that is? You know, and kind of tie in the characters and then tie in future stories, because unlike some films like Star Wars, it makes sense when the stories come together later. It still did really tie in to, I think, future films. And it was nice to actually see how that played out. So I liked it. I dig it. I'm waiting for the next Creed.
It's funny for me because I always liked the movie, but I always preferred Rocky 3. Rocky 3 was my favorite Rocky movie. And then maybe the first one. The first one, Rocky 3, then the first one, and then this one. But since we've watched Creed 2, and since it's so much like Creed 2 has done a good job of humanizing these characters and the bad guys, that I look at it differently. And I did like the movie a lot. And I do sympathize with Drago a lot more than I ever did. And I probably dislike Brigitte Nielsen a little bit more than you do because of it, because, you know, of everything. I think there is more, what I'm finding a lot of them is, you know, whatever 15 or whatever year old me, when I saw it versus 45-year-old me, like I find more depth in these characters. Like for me, everything was surface, like, and I'm finding with all the movies we're doing, everything was surface. But then you see, okay, you know, Apollo Creed was cocky and this and that, but there was a reason for it. You know, Rocky was wishy-washy, but there's a reason for it. Like it's not just, you know, like I said, surface level. And I do find the layers a little bit more interesting now as I've gotten older. I would definitely watch it again. I think it should be higher on IMDb. And I thought it was a good movie. And I love a montage, and you know, Rocky will give you a good montage every time. There's no doubt.
You guys need to make a podcast montage.
Yes.
With all the different podcasts.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of video editing.
Just make it happen.
We already have the song picked out, right, Jeff?
Do we?
Well, talking about the ADDs, right? And that.
Yeah. That's kind of a slow song. That's not really montage.
Well, we're kind of slow. We would be a slower montage anyway.
Slow montage. That's a good name for a improv team. A slow montage. Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. I came into this thinking, I was like, I picked a lot of nits about you know, reality stuff, but I said watch it like it's a superhero movie or a sci-fi movie where the laws of this world do not exist in the laws of Rocky world. And I think that helped me a little bit to enjoy it. Like, it would make sense that for an exhibition, and you know, Apollo either trying to kick like a new career off, or just one last thing of glory that he would have James Brown come in and do all that stuff. And I definitely enjoyed 3 and 4 more. To me, there's only 4 Rocky movies. Like 5 doesn't make sense, and I don't think I've even seen Rocky Balboa. But
it's so good.
Balboa is good. You would like Balboa.
Yeah, I'll check it. I mean, I have seen Creed, but I haven't seen Creed 2. So maybe I'll check out Rocky Balboa and then Creed 2. But as a kid, I gravitated and loved 3 and 4 because they were right up my alley for a 9-10-year-old or whatever I was. What was this, 85? So I was 8 turning 9. But I don't think I saw these movies in the movie theater. I definitely saw them later on cable, which they were on a lot in the mid to late 80s. But now I gravitate more towards 1 and 2. I really like 2, actually. That's the one I've most recently watched. It was just on randomly, and I like sat down and committed to it. It's a long, it has the long, because there's not that many montages in 2. It's like actual like dialogue and scenes and building relationships and stuff until the final fight, which he actually wins. Spoiler alert, when he doesn't win in 1, but that's part of the reason why I like 1, is because it is more realistic, because that's probably the most real. I mean, even though they beat the living shit out of each other in that one too, but as far as the outcome, the real, for that, if the heavyweight champion fought somebody who was just a nobody challenger that got a chance out of nowhere, even if he did perform well, it's based off a real fight too. Somebody who, I think he even wrote a book. He's like, I'm the real Rocky or something. But anyways, so I enjoyed it. It was fun. There were definitely times where I had to remind myself to think of it as a sci-fi or just the Rocky universe as like a place that has different rules than the real universe. But I enjoyed it. I'm glad we did it, and this was a very fun podcast too to talk about it.
Yeah, it was easy to talk.
I mean, it was like Rocky 4 or not Flight of the Navigator. What's the other one? I keep asking
you wanted
about?
to do Last Starfighter.
Last Starfighter. I'm like, I was like, Daryl, Last Starfighter. I was like, I just want to be on. I'm not making fun of Geek Squad, but I had like my Geek Squad list. I was like, Daryl. No one will have seen Daryl. Well, maybe.
I know what you're talking. It was like an acronym for something, right?
Yeah, he was a
like
robot.
DAR. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have guests back multiple times, so maybe we can do Last Starfighter some other time. Because we definitely want to do that. That's a classic 80s movie.
It's amazing. Can I ask a random question, not related?
Sure.
What was y'all's first movie you ever saw in a movie theater? Because you mentioned a movie theater. Do you remember?
I want to say Empire. Probably Empire Strikes Back. I don't know for sure. I know there was probably, and I can't ask my parents. Either Empire or 1001 Dalmatians.
Both classics.
Like the animated one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the live action one doesn't come out for like 25 more years. He was 25 movies until he was like 36. My first movie was a drive-in double feature of Empire Strikes Back and Flashdance. Nice. So the second movie I saw was the first 5 minutes of Flashdance before I fell asleep. Nice. So it is the first movie I've ever seen, and it's still my favorite movie, and I still consider it the greatest movie of all time. So that just tells you a little bit. The first movie I ever saw, and I should have just quit.
All downhill.
Right, it's hard to compete. You guys are on the same
Nothing has
page.
compared to Empire Strikes Back since that fateful trip in, I think, like 1981. It was like a re-release of Empire. I was like 4 or 5. I was just old enough to have like vague memories of.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, nice. I was just curious.
How about you? You asked the question. What's your answer?
Mine was Conan the Barbarian.
Nice.
I wanted to see it a lot, and I remember going to it. I remember being really excited, and then I don't think I could understand any of it. And then my big memory was leaving, and like when your parents are like swinging your hands, and me like making all this noise, like I was Conan the Barbarian. Like, but I wanted to see that movie a lot.
What does Conan the Barbarian noise sound like? Is that just
I feel like he just did a lot of screaming. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. I feel like that was it. I was just in the parking lot being swung and screaming.
Telling your parents to get to the choppa.
Yeah, get to the choppa. That's probably what started this whole thing. Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, this has been thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you so much, Melody, our guest.
Yes.
Thank you, John. I'm Jeff, and this has been talking about the ADD's movies. Rocky 4. Rocky 4. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3.